welcome back to another episode of the Heresy Hangout. I'm coming to you from the warp, right? We're on the internet now. So I'm Jason, your co-host, and across the globe, across the ethers, the Inferium is.
Hello, it's me again, RJ.
In front of the golden throne, it appears.
In front of the golden. He's totally alive and well. You can't tell. But yeah, we're here. We're back. We're gonna have a nice, fun conversation. Well-educated, spoken conversation about another addition to the Horus Heresy. And one of my favorites, personally. In my opinion, we're introduced to the real main character. For sure.
Oh, okay, all right. Yeah, so we're excited to bring you. I feel like a newscaster or sports commentator now. Like, the next episode. This book will be covering book 4, which is titled "The Flight of the Eisensein." So this, I last episode I mentioned like the 3 are kind of their own thing, but this is also chronologically, kind of chronological. It's in the same like ish time frame. You know what I mean? And it follows the story of the first 3 roughly, but also it does start to branch off a little bit. So
yeah,
kind of jumps around. But after this, the books kind of really jump around. Then they're kind of all over the place until like near the end, they'll kind of sync back up to what's going on. But before we go in, let's take care of the business, all that stuff. So we're on YouTube, we're on Instagram, all your podcast apps, also Gmail, the Heresy Hangout at Gmail. If you want to hit us up, I've been posting like daily little clips, trying to do the whole social media thing. You know what I mean? But we're up to 43 subscribers though, so something's kind of working.
I might quit my day job. It's getting pretty serious.
Yeah. So, all right. So that's all taken care of. Let's dive into the book. All right. So, Flight of the Eisensein. It was published in 2007. So pretty much, what was that? The other ones was 2006, I think. So
yep.
Roughly around the same time. This one's 407 pages compared to Galaxy in Flames 409, Horus Rising 411, and False Gods 407. So roughly around the same thing. The author is James Swallow. Let's bring him on. Well, not really, but there's Mr. Swallow there. A picture. Obviously, he's not here for interviewing purposes.
Yeah, logistic purposes. He couldn't make it today.
Yeah, he just couldn't make it today. Sorry. We'll get him on next time. All right. So James was born and raised in London, England. He enjoys reading on military history, sci-fi, and thrillers. He is a New York Times bestselling author, Sunday Times bestselling author, and an Amazon bestselling author. He's been writing since his teens, but his first big break was in 1998, where 2 of his original story premises were turned into episodes for Star Trek Voyager, for you Star Trek fans out there. I used to watch Star Trek The Next Generation. That was like my thing when I was a kid. So I don't really know what Voyager is. But a little side note, he is the only British writer to ever work on Star Trek, which is cool.
Wow.
But also seems kind of like why would you not have more people work? I don't know. It seems like, naturalistic kind of for America take over Star Trek, you know what I mean? But in 2001, he wrote the Sundowners series, which is like it's a young adult steampunk adventures set in like an alternate Old West. So it kind of reminds me of like what was that movie with Will Smith?
No.
It wasn't that good of a movie, but the Wild Wild West. It was like, I think it was called the Wild Wild West. Like, yeah, so it had like cowboys and all, but also like steampunk stuff. So
we got the hit song Wild Wild West.
Yeah, well that's the best thing that came out of it, obviously. All right, so over the years of 2001 and 2011, he wrote novels and audio dramas set in the world of Star Trek, Doctor Who, Splinter Cell, Halo, Stargate, 2000 AD, and of course Warhammer 40,000. So he's done a lot of writing. A lot of his stuff he creates, narrates, and world building for video games. So he's done a lot of like world building for games such as Deus Ex, Fable, Ghost Recon, and Guardians of the Galaxy. In 2016, he took on a new challenge and began his own series called, it's titled Mark Dane, and titles such as Nomad, Exile, Ghost, Shadow, Rogue, and Outlaw. The series is about MI6, right? Am I saying that right? MI6. It's like a Secret Service kind of thing. Agent Mark Dane. He's a computer nerd guy who gets like thrown into the field agent status. Like, so he's like a computer guy who gets the guns and all, and he goes out there to defend Crown and Country. It's got like so I just read some synopsis. It's got like Tom Clancy kind of vibes, 007 kind of style,
like Jack Ryan vibe.
Yeah, but it's kind of cool because like I think like it's just Jack Ryan like a buff dude, or is Jack Ryan like a computer nerd?
No, he starts as okay. First of all, let me get you into the Jack Ryan universe.
I don't really know. Yeah.
He's an analyst, and then like, but he's a retired Marine, or he was an injured Marine, so like he was tough. But he's like, I want to be a desk guy who wants to just do numbers, and they're like, no, we need you in the field, Jack. And he ends up being like, oh, I'm also secretly a badass.
Okay, so it kind of works out. Yeah, so it's kind of like that. For Horus Heresy, he has written Fled to Eisensein, obviously. Nemesis, which is a pretty cool book.
Pretty good one.
Yeah, Fear to Tread, which I kind of recently read. Another cool book. And then he's wrote Garro, Weapon of Fate, which is like a separate like short story that continues the adventures of our character in this book. And he's written The Buried Dagger. I've never read that one. That was one of the near the end ones before the Siege of Terror. I have not read that one. All right, so now we'll go on to the cover. All right, so this one is another legendary cover by Neil Roberts, and I mentioned in the previous one he's done like a bajillion. I think it's 50. So he does them all. He's that, and also like tons of other artwork for Horus Heresy. But so I think this is super cool picture. I mean, if we're just going by straight up like, you know, what's it look like? I think it's really, really fucking badass. The funny thing though is I'm not gonna, you know, we're not gonna spoil anything, but this doesn't happen.
Yeah, I was like the gauntlet and the background, and I was
like super cool. Like, so yeah, this so we can, for audio listeners, you got looks like two standard or Heresy era Death Guard in the front. One's got a damaged Power Fist, and that's a character in the book is a guy with Power Fist. So you're assuming, oh, that's Decius, right? That's our guy Decius. In the background, you see a bunch of Imperial Fists shooting off in the distance, and then there's like a Roman building in the distance, and in the way for background is a Great Unclean One with a giant ass crazy sword. You know what I mean? So it looks like there's swarms of flies, and there's a whole bunch of Astartes fighting this Great Unclean One, who's got his fists raised and the sword's glowing, and it's just, you know, he looks super gross. But you know, what's funny is like this scene doesn't happen in the book. I was reading the whole book waiting for this scene to happen because they usually, I mean, I guess not. I guess the other covers are kind of ambiguous. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I mean, like
dudes fighting. You know what I mean? But I kind of in my head always assume that, oh, these are like, you know, like the first one where they're storming a castle. It's like, oh, well, that's like the opening scene, I guess. You know what I mean? That's them on the killing the fake emperor or whatever. You know what I mean? But yeah, this was. I mean, I said super cool.
No,
cover.
I love it.
But yeah, just weird that didn't happen. Super detailed, you know, and it hits 40K all the way. You got these super power armored guys in Roman buildings, like with columns and all. There's two moons in the background, you know what I mean? And then there's this giant demon, which is like, you know, this like kind of amalgamates all of 40K. Sword, a big monster with a sword, and then guys with big guns, like fighting that thing with a sword. But yeah, super cool, super detailed. But yeah, it just kind of threw me off. Like, oh, that's kind of weird. Like, that's not even in the book whatsoever. So, but what are your thoughts? You like it? You like it? Don't like it? What do you think?
I actually love this cover. I mean, like, it really catches your eye because right off the rip, you get the two big homies. So, like, on the actual book itself, you only really see the two, guard right there, and it's really a personal picture. So, like, all the other ones are really big scale. You only see like. And we're showing the blown up version here, which is like twice the size of what's on the book. You're only showing like 4 or 5 people on the book, and it immediately is like, oh wow, the scope feels smaller, like it's a very, very, very much directed towards a couple people.
That's a good point because so all these books, all of them, the whole cover like wraps around the book, and you can't see it all. It's impossible. But this one, when I'm looking at the book now, it's really cool because it's like it's like really. In the foreground, in the prominence of your eye, are these two guys. You know what I mean? Like, and it feels like more of a personal story of what's going on here. That guy looks like he's really pissed because his hand is exploded. You know, but it's true. I didn't think about that. Yeah, the way like so, I kind of wonder if Mr. Roberts and all the guys who make these books are they I wonder if they're told ahead of time, like, hey, your book or your artwork is going to be folded into a book cover. So if you want something to pop, you got to put it in the bottom half of the far right, in a sense. You know what I mean?
They have to know. Like they have to
Yeah.
know.
Because, but it's weirder because, like, I mean, my personal thought, the coolest part is that monster, and he's covered by the back.
Yeah, I actually never even noticed him until the summary on the back of the book covers him.
Yeah, covered. You don't even know it's there. So yeah, so unless you look it up and fully like we have it expanded out, you really can't see the whole picture. But yeah, super cool picture. All so far have been really cool. But Mr. Roberts does I went to his website to look up how many he did, and he does like so many that I thought are super cool. So we'll get to them as we go. But all right. So Flight of Einstein. So before we start, one thing, you know how it has the what do they call it, dramatis
Persona.
Yeah, you know what's funny? I was looking through it, right, and I made a little note here because non-Astartes Imperials, right? That's usually the humans. Malgahurst is listed under there. That's weird. That must be a misprint. There's no way, right? So if you look at the very first page, not Astartes Imperials, the very first person is Malgahurst, the Twisted, equerry to the War Master. That guy's an Astartes, as far as I know, right? Like, am I missing something, right? He's a Space Marine. I wonder if that's a misquery.
Yeah, that doesn't make. Yeah, he's 100% a Space Marine.
Yeah, I mean, he is the equerry as well. You know what I mean? But like, he is definitely a Space Marine. So I had a note of that. So, all right. So part 1 is called the Blinded Star. All right. So chapter 1, we start with a fleet of gray metalled, unendured ships move through space. Cool ass names: Endurance, Indomitable Will, Barbarous Sting, Undying, Lord of Hyrus, Terminus Est, Spectre of Death. That's the names of these ships.
It's like it's like if you got like a bunch of like freshmen or sophomore high schoolers, hey, make a metal band name. Terminus Est. Barbarous Sting. That sounds like a good band.
Yeah. Lord of Hyrus, whoever Hyrus is, I mean, I don't know. But pretty much it's the 14th Legion, and they're massing for an assault. So the 14th Legion, if you don't know, is the Death Guard. All right, so we are shown a scene with this guy named Caleb Aaron, and he moves slowly through the Astartes. So he's a man. He's not an Astartes, so he's a little guy. He's content with his shortcomings and his station in life. He's proud to be a house Carl. So usually legions have different things. We talked about servitors, stuff like that. But through this book, you find out like a Death Guard have like this like almost like knight squire thing. Even though these squires will never become knights, most of them are actually failed aspirants. You know what I mean? But like they have this kind of heart. So he's like a serf in a sense. He kind of like he works for an Astartes, and he kind of like tends to his weapons and polishes his boots and all that kind of stuff. So
the really important stuff.
Yeah. All right, he reflects on how old he is, how old the Legion is, and how those old ways are changing, especially since naming of War Master. So here we go. They're injecting those little hints of how things aren't like they used to be. Even to this guy who is a human, but he's probably old. I mean, they do like, they can make you live for over 100 years. I'm sure. You know what I mean? Especially if you can polish the sword real good.
Yeah, you're really good. You're not like plug you and make you a thumb drive good.
We like you a little more than that because we can make you live forever and just plug you in the beginning, But all right, so then we're introduced to Nathaniel Garro. He's inspecting his sword. It's called Libertas. How do you say it? Libertas.
Libertas.
Yeah. He's admiring its perfection. Caleb adds that the servitor, so the servitor that fixed his weapon was a blacksmith in his previous life.
Favorite.
Yeah. So, they're kind of chatting, and he's like, man, this sword looks really good. And Caleb's like, yeah, well, actually, the mindless robot, human thing that we created, he used to be a blacksmith. So, like, I think some of his talents have bled over into his...
He was so passionate. He was the best passionate metal artist of his planet that we made him a washer machine that only sharpens swords.
Yeah. So we get a little look here. Nathan sees his reflection, and he's bald, he's scarred, patrician features. his roots are in old Terran warrior dynasties, so he looks like noble. But he's not as pallid as a lot of the guys in his like gang, because so as we mentioned before, you see the rift. A lot of these guys who are on the Emperor side are usually Terran. So he's a Terran. The other guys are from Barbarous, so we had Barbarous stings. And Barbarous is a planet that the newer Death Guard people are from.
The stinky boys.
Yeah. All right. So then we then meet Eulist Temeter, whatever, and Andis Hawker. They're kind of like joking around, making fun of Garro because he's super old. They're making fun of Temeter because he's like young. So he say, "Hey, you're still on your mama's milk." You know what I mean? But these guys work for Garro. These are like, he's like under his command. So they informed Nathaniel that first captain Callus Typhon has stepped down as assault leader, and they're all like, "Whoa, like what the hell? Like that's a big deal." So first captain, like we saw before, our first captain from the Sons of Horus was where's he at? He's right there. There he is. Ezekiel Abaddon. And so this is like the Abaddon of this one. He's like the most baddest guy under the Primarch. So to be stepping down is like unheard of. So they're like, man, like, like what's going on? Typhus would never do that. And like, who's going to take his spot? There's no way he's letting anyone take his spot. And they're like, oh, guess who's here? Their dad's here. Big Daddy's here. The Death Guard Big Daddy. He's here to lead us. Caleb drops to his knees just like at the mention that this guy is on the ship. You know what I mean? Like it's so insane. Garro is shocked. It's like you got to think of the scale of this stuff, because like, yes, he is their boss of bosses and they're genetically his sons and all, but like there's so many of these guys that it's not common for their big daddy to be like, like they're amazed that he's on the ship. You know what I mean? It's like a big deal. You know what I mean? Like, all right. So then we move. They're gonna break and go meet up for the coming assault. All right. So in the Endurance is the ship they're on, the assembly hall. So they mentioned how it's like bare bones, unlike what was that, Lupercal's court. You know what I mean? It's not fancy. The Death Guard are very, very like Spartan. It's just like minimal. You know what I mean? Like it mentions like bare metal a lot. There's no seats anywhere. There's no like amenities, stuff like that. It's just like as if they built a ship and like no one put the drywall up. You know what I mean? It's like, I picture like like wires and pipes everywhere, not because like it's damaged, just because like they don't care. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
I picture the Matrix ships, like all the Matrix, and they're like,
that's perfect.
They're like constantly like, yeah, I gotta move these fucking wires to go.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, exactly. All right, so the room is full of naval personnel, Astartes. First Captain Typhon is there, and we also will meet second Captain Grogor. Just by his name, though, it's like, come on, like, come on. You're not gonna like this guy.
Grogor. Yeah, it's like, oh, Typhon, Garro, Grogor. Like, hey, it's
it sounds like a pain in the ass before you meet him. You know what I mean? All right, so we get a description here of Typhon. Typhon is in Terminator armor, as most first captains are, because usually the first company is usually Terminators, so they're the most veteran of veterans. He's described as a black beard, shoulder-length hair, which is really different. A lot of times these guys are usually, most times I've seen like bald, short hair,
clean cut, yeah,
or like Abaddon rocks the crazy like top knot thing. But yeah, this is kind of different. Like, so he looks like, in my head I picture like a lumberjack. You know what I mean? Big old beard and like super long hair. You know what I mean? All right. So Grogor informs them that there's change to the plan. The fourth company is retasked with boarding action, much to Meter's dismay. So I guess they thought they were going to be in on it, and now they're upset that they're not. All right, so right now the book goes into some special ranks they have in the Death Guard. The second and seventh commanders are known as second is known as a commander, and then the seventh, which is Garro, he's known as a battle captain. So it's just like titles they have, like within their own ranks, that like describe the same thing but also make it their own. All right. With that, Grogor comments on how these old traditions should only remain if useful. Um, Example is the house Carl. So like Rogor kind of snubs his nose at the fact that Nathaniel has his little house Carl. You know what I mean? He's like, there's no use to this, and he's probably thinking like we have servitors for that. You know what I mean? But like Nathaniel being like the older guy and stuck in his traditions, he begged to differ. So they turn to see a figure in gold moving. So it looks like not only is Big Daddy here, but looks like he's brought some company with him. So where am I at? All right, so we have Caleb. He's cleaning some of Nathaniel's armor, and he's too excited to even focus on it because he's so super excited that Big Daddy is here on the ship. Hacker rebukes his gawking, tells him to focus on his work. He's polishing his armor, so it's cool here. The armor, Nathaniel's armor is described as it's got like an eagle on the front and one like above the backpack. If you Google pictures of Nathaniel Garro, they always use this. It's really good. So he's got like these double eagle, kind of like metal pushing off of the armor. Caleb thought them a good omen, but he was rejected when he spoke about it to the Death Guard because they don't believe in that kind of crap. You know what I mean? They don't believe in hocus pocus. Oh, you got one? Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Right. Oh. Yeah. Okay. So we see here. So the background, which I think would be incredibly like annoying to wear. I don't know. I guess kind of guards his head. You know what I mean?
I don't. Well,
but yeah.
Horus.
The back of it.
As a Horus is over here rocking like.
Well, yeah. I mean,
super cowl.
As the art in more recent years have looked more like real because like back in the 90s and 2000s, this shoulder guard would be blocking his line of sight. You know what I mean? And even on Terminator, it kind of does sometimes, and it's kind of like that doesn't make much sense. You can't see anything.
Can't see shit. I can't see shit out of this thing.
All right, so back to the guest. So Big Daddy's guest here is dressed in gold, right? It's a female in chain armor and gold plate. Like a bodice kind of. Say it, bodice, right?
Bodice, yeah.
Bodice, yeah. And when she moves, she's completely silent. So she's bald, got a purple top knot, and a red eagle tattoo on her head. And her name is Amandera Kendall, and she's called a witch seeker. And she's here with a crew of the Silent Sisterhood. So I have some notes because this is the first time we see them. All right, so the Silent Sisterhood, Sisters of Silence are also known. So like Psychers, there's a mutant gene in humans that makes very few execute a negative sonic field that disrupts psychics. So instead of being like full of psychic energy and be able to shoot magic, they are like full of like negative psychic energy and they drain magic. So they so a lot of times they're used for like they can nullify the effects of a psychic person. All right. Unlike psychers that exist in Xenos races, this mutation is only found in humans. The Sisterhood is all female, whose mission is to seek out and apprehend psychers. They also become a personal force associated with the Emperor himself, similar to the Legio Custodes. These two orders are only ones who are permitted to walk freely within the inner sanctum of the Imperial Vaults. So yeah, deep in the throne room and all, the only people who can hang out are Custodes and Sisters of Silence. Each sister takes a vow of silence that prevents them from speaking of the terrible knowledge they learn from hunting their prey. So in modern, we'll say like modern 40K, I think even back then, like they go and they find psychers. They can sense them and then they go scoop them up for all types of reasons, like to see if they can be like what do they call them? They call them I forget what they're called, but like pretty much like allowed psychers. You know what I mean? Back in the day, like, oh, okay, your power can be used for something beneficial like Navigator, Astropath, or as behind your screen there will show in modern 40K times, they feed the psychers to keep the Emperor alive.
So they sacrifice like 10,000 a day.
Yeah, it's something crazy, but that's their job. They're going around and they try to scoop these guys up, guys and gals up. And bring them into the Imperium either in good ways or bad ways. You know what I mean? All right, so they're on orders from the Sigillite. So that's who they work for. They work for like directly like the top of the top. You know what I mean? Like the Sigillite is right hand man, the Emperor, and that's who they work for. Nathaniel watches Kendall move around, and what she's doing, she's just like she doesn't make any noise. I mean, she's not invisible, but she doesn't make any noise, and he noticed that she's like observing everyone. She's like getting the goods on everyone to see what's going on. All right. Uh, Nathaniel notices two super tall Death Guard, each with a scythe, and they are named the Death Shroud. I got a cool quote here about the Death Shroud. Where am I? All right. These two Astartes were the personal honor guards of the Primarch, fated never to reveal their faces to anyone but Mortarion, even to the end of their lives. So it was said, the warriors of the Death Shroud were chosen by the Primarch from rank and file men of the Legion in secret, and then listed as killed in action. They were his nameless guardians, never allowed to venture more than 49 paces from the Lord's side. It's so funny because they're making fun of the one guy for like thinking that the gold eagle's good luck, and then they say this shit like this guy can never walk 49 paces.
Yes, that 50th step, man.
50 is like you're done. You're fired. You're fired. Like Donald Trump, you're fired. But yeah, so it's nothing too crazy. Like they all have personal bodyguards, and as we go on these books, you'll see like the each legion's bodyguards are like a little different. So these guys are hand selected, and then KIA'd. They don't exist anymore, and then there's these silent sentinels.
They're a ghost squad.
Yeah. So by seeing Death Shroud, he knows obviously because 49 paces away is Mortarion, so he knows that he must be near. Like a ghost, Mortarion walks out of the shadows, his scythe clinking as he strode. So Death Guard, scythe, like it just plays into itself.
Yeah.
Nathaniel tenses at the sight, remembers ancient tales of the Grim Reaper from Terra. So Mortarion is now described. He's described as tall, which is because he's a damn Primarch, so he's like 12 feet tall. He's pale. He's got a hairless face. He's dressed in brass and bare metal, and then on his whatever that thing, what's that thing called, cuirass or something like that, like whatever, like right by his face,
the carapace or whatever.
Yeah, there's like gas pumping into his face, and it's like toxic fumes from his home planet of Barbarous that he like just constantly breathes. It's funny because the Death Guard are not known for dramatics, but this guy like comes into the shadows, clinking his Man Reaper, and puffing toxic fumes, and it's like, all right, maybe you do like a little bit of theatrics there.
So he's kind of theatrical, but like here, I got the picture of him right here. Yeah, it's so funny. So like when I read that first intro, I was like, oh, this is kind of like I got like the Sandman from Neil Gaiman, like just this kind of like gaunt figure, tall, pasty boy. Like that was just kind of the vibe I was getting. And then the more I read about it, I was like, this guy's like, it's kind of weird.
I mean, yeah, he's obviously like, he's definitely what is it called? He's definitely played off of as the Grim Reaper. You know what I mean? Like that's pretty much what what he's supposed to be. And I think it's cool. I mean, it's like kind of cliche and all, but also I think it's pretty cool. You got him up here yet?
Yeah, I got him right here. Oh, that's why it's not saved. Well, moving on.
All right, yeah. Okay, so then they we jump scenes now. We're kind of down in like the arming area, the barracks, whatever. The boys are yucking it up before they go into their fight. They're gonna go fight this thing called the Yorgal, Jorga.
No idea how to pronounce it. I call him the Jurgle.
Yorgal,
Jorgen. It's the Yorgal sounds right.
Yeah, I think it's called Yorgal. See if I can find it. Yeah, Yorgal 40K. All right, get an image up.
I could not figure out what the heck either.
All right. We'll meet him in a second, so we'll talk about him in a second. But all right, so right at this point, you meet a bunch of people, right? And these are kind of like characters, like which is kind of we've been the same three characters or same characters these three books. You know what I'm saying? Like you had pretty much the Sons of Horus, you had a little sprinkle of the Emperor's Children, and you meet like a Sanguinius here and stuff like that. But like you had the same characters, so this kind of have to introduce you to new characters. All right. This scene here, we meet a bunch of the boys who are in Garro's company. We have a guy named Pyre Rahl. He's described as jovial. He's betting on what kind of blood the bad guys will have. And this hacker who we met a little earlier, he's wiry. He's not interested in betting on any of the stupid stuff. He's kind of like more serious. Merrick Voyant, so he's the medic. He's the apothecary. He's very serious. Solon Decius, he's young. He's enthused to take the fight to the bad guys. He's the guy with the. I mean, he could be the guy on the cover, but he is described as having a power fist. And then we have Talon Sendek, heavy brow. He's studious. He already knows the blood type because he's been reading fucking actual information about these guys. The rest of guys just joking around. You know what I mean? So we have Mortarion and the boys are studying a diagram of the enemy vessel, and it's called a Yorgal cylinder world. All right, discuss attack plans, and we find out that Nathaniel and his boys will take the hatchery, which he's not really happy about because it sounds like not really a hard target. You know what I mean? But yeah, and Mortarion also mentions that the Sisters of Silence will be accompanying him because they are seeking a psyker thingy. You know what I mean? And then we jump to chapter 2. Now the assault has begun. All the boys are in one of hundreds of assault boats, which are pretty much like they're like torpedoes that like are carrying people, and they're fired from their ships, and they're designed literally to like smash and burrow into a ship, a spaceport, or in this case the Yorgal cylinder world. You know what I mean?
That's like, that there's a great the Astartes fan film does a good one.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, the visual of it is like so tangible. It's very, again, D-Day-esque. Like you kind of get a good image right away. And to them, hey, it's another day in the office, boys. Like, hey, let's go.
Yeah, let's just jump in this thing and smash into another spaceship, like or we can get blown up. You know what I mean?
Yeah, there's a good chance you don't even make it.
All right, so his boat, obviously Nathaniel's boat makes it because he's the main character. So it rips through the hull into a small chemical lake. They traverse out, and so they kind of like hit underwater. But no big deal because they're in suits and all, and they're all good. They pop out and they see, they look over and they see Grogor and Mortarion are there, and the assault has caused disarray amongst the Xenos on the shore. They first thought that they assumed probably that they were like torpedoes hitting us, like bombs. You know what I mean? They didn't realize that they're actually going to be boarded. You know what I mean? How did you add something to this? What'd you do?
You just hit present and then image or video, whatever you want.
Where's present?
It's for me, it's at the bottom of the screen.
Oh, I got you. Yeah, because I want to show the right here. What the hell? Where is it?
And I got that Mortarion picture too.
Oh yeah, pop that up real quick.
Oh, you got to do it. I'm just.
Oh yeah, sorry. I forgot. This is new to us people who are listening. So this is why we're a little slow with this because I would have had this prepared because I have tons of images. I would have had this prepared, but
you get what you pay for.
Yeah, you don't pay for anything. So all right, so here we go. So that is a Yorgal, whatever that is. You know what I mean?
Yeah, obviously.
Yeah.
I heard there was actually someone was talking about creature design, and a good one that when like people you want alien, give them really big front legs and small back legs. What was like this and Cloverfield.
And then actually the book here, I have it highlighted. It gives a teasing description. So a Yorgal adult was perhaps 4.5 meters tall, moving on 3 legs with 3 joints that radiated from their lower torso like spokes on a wheel. Apart from the extensile neck, the upper body of the alien resembled the lower, but here the 3 limbs ended in hands with 6 digits. So you see the hands there. The egg-shaped head had deep-set, roomy eyes and fleshy notches for a nose and mouth. They had skin like Terran lizards, all scales, and tiny horns of bone. Every single example of the Xeno species yet encountered and terminated by servants of the Imperium, from immune cubs to infirm elders, was modified with implanted devices or cybernetic proxy mechanism. So they're kind of like cyborgs. You know what I mean? They have like a little, some lizard body, but also some Terminator body. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
all right, so pretty much they are wrecking these guys' world. You know what I mean? It says they got no problem securing the beach. Nathaniel sees Grolgor assisting a bogged down dreadnought, so we got a dreadnought on
Oh
the
yeah,
field,
brother.
always super cool. Bareheaded, he's enjoying the toxic gas. He's light, he's they say he's lighting up these guys with like 2 bolters in his hand, so he's just ripping them apart. We also see Martarion, the Death Shroud, with Typhon ripping Xenos up. He's Mortarion using his pistol they call a lantern, and it shoots like white flashes that turn the Yorgol into ash. So it's kind of like the
Laser pistol.
super laser pistol. Hackor being serious doesn't prove Grolgor's showboating. He's obviously showboating in front of Daddy. You know what I mean? He's like, look at me, I got 2 guns, and he's like doing all this like showboat stuff. You know what I mean? Nathaniel agrees, but he can feel the urge, because this is a big deal. You know what I mean? Like, Big Daddy's not always fighting with you, so it's obviously like everyone wants to perform their best in front of their boss. You know what I mean? As they're fighting, they notice, they look up and they see airborne Yorgol. So now, another variation of these creatures. They see like an airborne one coming at them. He calls him out, so they know, and then Mortarion's like, "Yeah, good job, man," and he's all happy. He's so happy. Yeah, I did something
So
right.
stupid. It's like, hey, they're about to shoot us. They're coming from the sky, and he goes, "Oh yeah,
Yeah, good job, son."
proud of you, son. Love you, Dad.
It describes the flyers. There's a lot more, but the Death Guard make light work of them. They keep on moving away from the lake. Nathaniel observes the Sister of Silence moving. They're using swords and flamers. That's their main. Oh, swords, flamers, and bolt guns. That's their main weapons of choice. And he also notices that, remember I said they're silent. You know what I mean? They don't talk. So we notice them doing like sign language. That's how they communicate. Similar to Astartes have it. Astartes battle language.
Yeah.
Something like that. Battle
They
language.
do like I twitch this finger a quarter of an inch means take a right turn.
I picture what's that movie? You ever see that movie called Saving Silverman?
Yeah.
What, Jack Black, when they try to kidnap the chick and he's like doing all the things and he's like, I only know Navy SEAL signs. Like, oh, I know the Air Force signs.
Yeah, they have their own little secret sign language.
Yeah, so all right, so he saves one of them from getting smashed by a flyer, but he ends up getting hit. No big deal though. She signs a little thank you, so it's like thumbs up or I don't know what that would be. You know what I mean? Yay! And then goes on her way. All right, so enough fun here. The Big Daddy's like, all right, guys, time, branch out and go do what you need to do. So that means Nathaniel's got to go to the
hatchery.
Yeah. All right, so they're moving to the hatchery, and before they get there, they're in an area of tall, fibrous trees with like big orbs hanging from them. So I think that is the hatchery, right?
Yep.
Yep. They hatch from trees, yeah. So they're kind of curious because there's like no defense here. You know what I mean? Like they're like, all right, so they're walking through this forest of trees full of eggs of these creatures' children, and like, no one is like, no one's defended. You know what I mean? But he does notice, he sees a helmet, a Sister of Silence helmet, and he checks it out, and there's a head in it. So obviously someone's been here messing shit up. You know what I mean?
It's the fucking it's quiet, too quiet.
Yeah, it's like that kind of scene, too quiet. All right, so they're hearing bolter fire erupting in the distance, and they turn the corner kind of, and they see Sister of Silence are fighting a giant Yorgol. It says 10 times the size of a regular, and it's got no arms, but instead of arms, it has like these metal tentacles. So this torso area with just a bunch of, it sounds like some kind of Lovecraftian kind of thing. You know what I mean? Like smashing everything, and where am I at? Oh yeah, and also in its center, it has like this glass orb. So it's like big monster with some kind of glass orb in its center, which I would think would be like its like weak spot if it's a video game. You know what I mean? Like that's where you hit. I don't know.
I mean, it's pretty obvious, like big armored metal thing, glass bowl.
Yeah, glass. You're like, oh, that's where I shoot at. So Nathaniel rushes in. He takes a hit, loses his gun, and he keeps rolling with a sword. He's going in with a libertas. You know what I mean? One of those arms grabs him up and starts squeezing him. He's choking, and then this is like one of these motivational things. He says it digs deep to find new rage.
I love it.
He declares he will not fail. Cuts himself free, and then he plunges his sword into the center of the Xenos, killing it. And that's a lot. Nathaniel will do that a lot. Nathaniel has those moments where it's all lost, and then he hits like Rocky moment or something. You know what I mean? Like
yeah,
down and out.
Was Swallow, James Swallow, he does love the whole like down but not out moment. He does the little like rope-a-dope. Like,
yeah.
If I just use more, if I just want it more, I'll do it.
Yeah. Okay, so the monster's dead. He kind of goes over to see what that thing was holding in its little belly, and it was a baby Yorgul, but its head like gigantic. So so this is more, I would say more likely this is like the Psyker thing, right? Because it says it's got a huge head. It's kind of crawling towards him, and it kind of reaches out and touches his mind because his mind swims. He he knows what's going on there. He shouts out and he makes ready to kill, but then the little creature freezes him, and then he mocks the Death Guard for being confident in their righteousness. But soon the end will come. Dun dun dun, like
and then it cracks me up because to me he just goes, yeah, stupid baby, like the fuck,
But he's freed by Kendall. She comes up and smokes that thing, and then he's like, oh yeah, he snaps out of it.
Just straight in the crib, dude. She just puts the Glock in the crib.
Yeah, they're ruthless, man. I said they can't talk because of all the bad stuff they've seen. They don't want to bring it up, they don't want to talk about it.
So crazy.
When this creature's shot, all the other eggs start like crying and shuddering, and it's all freaking out. The sisters gathered a corpse because that's what they came for, and then they all burn that hatchery to the ground.
He says grenades and flamers, and it's like, damn, bro, they're out here just. I mean, like, you're literally destroying just like a wall of eggs. So like, yeah, man, whatever girl says.
And then that ends the chapter. So we move on to chapter 3. Death Guard are obliterating the remnants of the Yorgul to dust. They're picking up their dead bodies floating. They're picking up their guys in space. The Mechanical want to loot that place, man, because that's like juicy tech. You know what I mean? But Mortarion says no. His orders are from the Sigilite are to exterminate, not we're not here to find out what they know. We're here to destroy them. You know what I mean? So we have a little moment of Nathaniel thinking on that. So if the Sigilite said to destroy the Yorgul, he found it kind of weird how the sisters had a different mission. You know what I mean? Like they got one. They got a dead one. You know what I mean? All the rest, they said, because like I didn't write notes on it, but there was like, they blew the whole cylinder world apart. You know what I mean? They destroyed it. They destroyed everything.
Dust.
The sisters took something. So he kind of finds that weird, like, shows his hierarchy of what orders a Primarch gets compared to what orders, the sisters get.
The sneaky people.
Yeah, the sneak. So his little moment of quiet solitude is interrupted by Kendall. And then I like how to do this and there's like a junior sister with her, and she can talk, so she hasn't taken her vow yet. So like this is how we can actually, then we can, otherwise I think it'd be kind of weird if they're having whole conversations with sign language and like you're just reading about it, you know what I mean? So she can talk for her, so that they kind of break that up. They want to ensure the silence about their task and on the Yorgul ship. So they're kind of talking to Nathaniel, saying, hey, look, we don't want you talking about what happened. You know what I mean? Like, let's keep that on the DL. And Nathaniel has no problem with that. He's like, that's totally fine. He understands the Emperor has bigger plans, and he's not above, like he doesn't think that he's better than what the Emperor would decree. You know what I mean? And then she wants to know if the little creature thing spoke to him in his mind. And then he's first concerned. He's thinking that she thinks he might be contaminated. That's always a thing. If you like
Mhm.
get the touch of Psyker or a touch of chaos, you could be exterminated yourself. But he doesn't lie. He tells her what he said, and then she seems to be satisfied with that. Uh, they mentioned that this is the first time we see their ship called the area, yeah,
Yeah,
Araya
Area Glorious.
or Glorious, yeah. So he looks out the window and he sees like this like black like non-shape, and that's called the Black Ship. So that's what they roll around, and I have some notes on that. There are super stealth ships that go unnoticed by Vox and Auspex, used by the sisters. They're used to transport the apprehended psychers and are equipped with apanoria systems that block all sound as well as any connection to the warp. And I said, not a fun place for psychers. So it's pretty much like it's like a prison ship, and it's like blocks all psychic stuff. So if you're in there and you're a psychic, it kind of doesn't feel good. You know what I mean? And then you're probably torturing them in there and interrogating them because these chicks are known for that. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
they want to know what you know, and they have ways, to like waterboard central in that place.
For your brain, just brain
Yeah.
waterboarding.
All right, so Kendall and Nathaniel kind of like say bye because her mission is done. They got to go. She must return to Luna, which is the moon. That's just what they call it in this world.
Real creative on the names.
Yeah. All right. Then we have a scene of Caleb taking Nathaniel's gun to the servitors. He's thinking on the demeanor of the Death Guard. Less wild than the Space Wolves. More likely than I don't know. Oh, they're less wild than Space Wolves, but a little more wild than like other like stick up their butt Imperials like the Imperial Fist or the Ultra.
Yeah.
All right, so he's kind of trotting along and thinking to himself.
Scene.
He turns a corner and he sees Grolgor and some other dude shaking hands, and then what he sees them exchanging a disc-shaped brass token. Oh, what could that be?
Oh.
As we know from from other
from the last 3 entire novels that we've read.
Grogor notices him. He kind of makes fun of him. He's explaining and the other guy is like a newer dude on the ship, and he's like, "Who the hell is this guy? Like, who's this little nerd?" You know what I mean? And he's explaining. He explains to the guy's name's Mokir, what he is. He's a failure. He's an old habit that's to be rid of, and is kept around by people who follow the old ways, like Nathaniel. And Mokir doesn't understand what do you mean why failure. So he explains that now we find out what Caleb is. Caleb is like a failed aspirant. He was trying to be a Death Guard. And this is kind of cool because he's like, taunting him. Like, hey, where'd you fail? Did you fail on the Black Plains? Did you fail on the Tunnel of Venoms? all these Buds style.
Yeah, I know. It's like, hey, where did you fail? Was it the barbed wire breakfast bowl? like what? And
he's like, no, it was the Thorn Garden. And all these names are like insane training rituals that this guy obviously. Yeah, so Caleb's getting berated, and then Voyen, our medic, he shows up, kind of shuts it down. Say, hey, you leave this guy alone. You know what I mean?
It's literally like 2 high school bullies throwing a nerd.
I picture like something like that. Yeah, like guy gonna stuff in the locker, and then the cooler kid shows up and says, "Hey, yo, leave that guy alone." Yeah. So he kind of like scoops him up, and they continue on to the armory. Caleb tells Voyen, he said that he's seen hooded gatherings, and Voyen knows of the lodges and tells Caleb not to worry. So he's like, hey, so Caleb, Caleb's been around a long time, and he's like he mentioned before, he's seeing things change, and one of the things he's seen is these lodges. He's noticing these hooded gatherings, secret little things, and Voyen's like, yeah, don't worry about it, you know what I mean? But I wrote here, Caleb thinks like Logan, like Caleb thinks like truth is all that matters, you know what I mean? Like, and this secrecy, even though it can be seem innocent, you know what I mean? I don't think he likes it, but he's just a fucking person. Who cares what he thinks? You know, he's just a loser.
So go back to the Thorn Garden.
Yeah, go try to Thorn Garden again, nerd. Voyen assures him that it's okay, and he says, hey, don't bother Nathaniel with the rumors. He says, with great men like Mortarion and Nathaniel, there's never anything to worry about. And then Caleb asks him, well, how can you know that? And Voyan says, I can't say.
God damn it,
The
dude.
tag,
I love it.
the tagline, man. I can't say.
Can't say. I like how it's not even subtle either, because he's like super god compared to this human. He's like looks him in the eye. I can't say.
Yeah. What the? Why'd you say? Why'd you say it's going to be fine or something? I mean, why are you saying it like that? But from this little interaction, we see that Voyan is probably down with the lodges, and he doesn't want Garro to know because Garro is probably not down with the lodge. That's my guess. You know what I mean? We'll find out, but that would be my guess if I was betting on it. All right, so now we jump into Nathaniel walks into the seventh company area, greeting the boys. They're just having fun. He's talking with Decius about using his gun because in the scene before, Decius was like punching everything. You know what I mean? So like Decius like the new guy. He's like the FNG of the group.
He's super happy to be there.
Yeah, he's happy to be. He's happy to punch things apart. You know what I mean? So they're all chatting, and like Nathaniel's kind of like breaking his balls, and he realizes everyone's all quiet. He's like, "What the hell's going on?" And he turns around, and there's Mortarion, just creeper out of the shadows.
Hell yeah! And I got a good picture of him right there.
Oh yeah, I got it right.
Dude, like I thought he's right behind me, isn't he?
Yeah. Oh shit, he's right behind you.
So dumb.
So yeah, he shows up and he wants to tell Nathaniel that the sisters spoke highly of his whole little gang. You know what I mean? Of his company. Now we get another description. They tall, slender. He says spun from whipcord steel with amber eyes. So this is a black and white or pencil drawing, but yeah. So he's super pale, like a strong, but not like big. Like, I mean, he's tall, but not like big, like imposing, like what you think of a Primarch. You know what I mean? Like, not like giant, broad shoulders, like, more. I'm not trying to think of someone who would fit that role, but less like Brock Lesnar. And
he's got
like,
that like that ultra marathon build.
Yeah,
string muscles.
Yeah. More like if we're going UFC terms, like more like a jiu-jitsu kind of guy rather than like, a wrestler kind of guy, but also 12 feet tall. So
yeah, he's also 12 feet tall, so he's a little scary.
Very giant. All right, so Mortarion's here to give Nathaniel an award, a reward. Sorry. He's modest. He's like, no, I'm just a servant of the Emperor. I don't deserve I don't deserve my naval achievement medal. So Mortarion's not taking. Yeah, he's not taking it, and he like snaps his fingers, and a servitor comes. And he's got these like it's like a waiter. He's got like cups. He's got like a drink.
This was like this really. I didn't. So this whole thing's happening, right? You got this everything's happened so far, and then now they bring the cups. They bring the, and I'm like, oh, these are the poison dudes. These are like the.
It's like whiskey. You know what I mean? Whatever. You know what I mean? It's like beyond that, but it's like, hey, you're gonna it's like your boss trying to like go out for drinks, and you're like, I don't really want to, and he's like, no, we're gonna have some drinks.
I don't think you understand. He gets the, and then his house Carl brings the fucking whiskey rocks and the
honor me by sharing my drink. So I wrote, I made a little note here. Death Guard trained to be chemical poison resistant. So like most of the Astartes already have that biology where they can resist things. These guys take it in their level. You know what I mean? Like we mentioned, what was it? The poison garden? Was that what they called it? The thorn garden?
Thorn garden.
Tunnel of venoms. You know what I mean? So like their whole like thing is to do that. You know what I mean? It's like to extra poison. You know what I mean? All right, so we got a servitor. He's mixing fluids. This is funny. Magenta nerve bane, sword beetle venom.
I picture like some like shaky robot that like there's like a measuring glass and he's just kind of just dumping it all in anyway.
Yeah. All right, so Mortarion's tradition is to share after a fight with one death guard. So like he picks like the most badass dude for the fight, and he's going to share these like goofy poison drinks. Mortarion, Typhon, and Nathaniel all toast, and their toast is against death. So he drinks it, and it says it burns his chest and his throat, and it's very, very powerful. You know what I mean? So, yeah, I picture like like I'm not really a drinker, so I picture like drinking like some kind of really terrible whiskey, and it just like burns your tongue.
And you're just trying to like play it cool with your boss, like.
Mortarion chuckles, and it don't bother him. He just like boom, 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 whatever. and he asked Nathaniel to take a walk with him. So they kind of go off on their own little thing. They're having their own little conversation. Battalion praises Nathaniel as they walk. Speaks of he speaks of how they're going to be teaming up with the 63rd Legion, which is the Sons of Horus.
Wildly topical.
Yeah, and Nathaniel likes this because he knows some of the guys. He knows Loken, he knows Torgadon, he knows Malgahur, so that they've had history together. So he's like excited, you know what I mean? And then he kind of gets a little weirder. You know, he mentions that the Death Guard must be of one mind. Men find solace in the chain of command, but they need somewhere rank can be ignored. Weird.
Weird. Where can
Where
like
can that
if there
happen?
was somewhere you like a room like where do you go after you ski and you
Yeah, the ski. I forget. Ski
anyway.
cabin. Nah.
Yeah, you go hang out there and you can take rank aside, see
Yeah.
what you really think.
So so he's pretty. He's like selling the lodges, and he's wondering why aren't you part of the lodge? And he says I got no problem with it, but it's not for me. You know what I mean? Like he's just trying to like deflect. He don't like him. You know what I mean? But he's not as rigid. I feel as Loken was. You know what I mean? Like
No, first of all, like he knew.
well now.
Yeah.
Well, and now, I mean, again, this is not like another dude on your level telling you about it. It's your boss being like,
It's
"Hey man,
daddy.
like, yeah, like, hey man, like, everyone's in the club. Why aren't you in the club?" You know what I mean? So he's just like, it's not for me." You know what I mean? Like, he's not gonna tell him, like he thinks it's the worst thing in the world because obviously he's like selling it. You know what I mean?
It's also like a dad. It's like, hey, why don't you like go hang out with people more?
Yeah. Like, why are you in your room all the time doing nothing?
Well, you kind of a fucking loser, dude.
But it works because Mortarion respects him, and he actually asks him to be his equerry when they go and meet the War Master at his war council at Isstvan. So that if we're going on a time frame now, this is a little bit before what we know happened at Isstvan. And Nathaniel obviously is like, he says it will be glorious. He's so excited.
It's like, yes, my liege. He's totally not foaming at the mouth.
All right, so chapter 4 starts, and it kind of gives a little thing. They're up on like a gantry kind of way, having a little conversation, and down below, the Death Guard are watching a pick feed of the Cylinder World being propelled towards the sun. It's kind of cool, like like it just shows like how they get rid of it. You know what I mean? So they like hooked up these like boosters and just said to the sun. Enter. You know what I mean? Like,
No, there's like a servitor or two on there that's like,
oh, I'm sure there is. Yeah, I'm sure some poor guy.
Thank God.
He's holding the joysticks forward.
Yeah, they don't have an autopilot, so they got the.
Yeah, I used to be a blacksmith. All right, so Grogor's down there sulking because he's pissed because he wants to drink. He wants the reward. You know what I mean? Typhon comes up and he asks him why. He's like, "Wait, what's wrong?" And I think Typhon already knows. He's kind of just like making fun of him, like, "Hey, what's wrong, man? What's wrong?" Grogor thinks Nathaniel looks down on the barbarous Death Guard. So here we go, talking that division between
I love this. Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. He wears his Terran birth like a sacred brand. And Typhon just eggs him on. He goes, "Well, other people are Terran." He goes, "Even more Terrion." Like he's just poking him. He's on poking him. You know what I mean? Like he knows that it'll get him mad. So he's just poking and poking and poking. And then Grogor's like, no. Mortarion is from Barbarous. He's from Barbarous. And then I made a note here is, do they know the story? You know what I'm saying? Like,
No.
as I'm saying, so how does Typhon say that he is Terran? But in their minds, this guy grew up on their planet, probably liberated it from some kind of monster, you know what I mean? Like, or whatever. So yeah, it was kind of weird. Like, because like the scattering was like a secret, right? Like no one knows it
I
happened.
think they know that. Like, I'm sure there's some pretty well worded Imperium select text that says like, yeah, they're from Terra.
Originally,
and that's it. That's it though. They're not going to be like.
Yeah, but I'm saying is like all these guys, like from the scattering, all these guys know that this person, whatever, landed on their planet or landed whatever. Like you say you're Grogor, little baby Grogor growing up, you would hear stories of the dude who like liberated your planet. You know what I mean? Or like the guy who beat the tyrant and took over the planet. You know what I mean? Like the Ultramarines, like he liberated like the whole system. You know what I mean? So I don't know. Just curious. You know what I mean? But It's not a big deal.
But yeah, they're like, that guy's not from where I'm from, and he definitely doesn't like me.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
The nicest guy on the whole ship. Yeah, fuck that.
Yeah. So Type is prying deeper, asking Grogar if he would follow the Primarch against any higher authority. And then Grogar's like, Death Lord first, Emperor second. It's like, oh, shit, here we go. We already know where he's at. All right, so Typhon fills him in that the Mortarion wants to. The reason he's bringing him to as an equerry because he wants to keep a close eye on Nathaniel. He's going to have a decision to make, and he wants to keep him close. So they're going to pretty much put Nathaniel to a decision to see if what side they're on. You know what I mean? If he chooses wrong, Typhon's going to want Grogar's help with that, and that can be insinuated as you see fit. You know what I mean? But so yeah, it's funny because like they don't outly say it yet, but just by these conversations, you get the idea that these guys are they're not on the good guy side, and it's funny because
they're all good guys in my eyes. Everyone's a good guy.
Yeah, I mean, it depends, but they're not they're not on the Imperial side. You know what I mean? Even though they are now, but it's obvious, and it's so funny because like these guys are probably like the one of the most ripest to be bad guys. Death Guard, they look like the Grim Reaper, and it's like, oh, okay, like it's not gonna be the guy in the blue and gold armor. It's gonna be the guy in the dark. You know what I mean?
My Mortarion is my my dad.
Yeah, like what side is it gonna be on? Obviously. All right, we jump to the Endurance leaving warp space near the 63rd Expedition Fleet. So this is big. Remember, we got Sons of Horus are here, the World Eaters are here, Emperor's Children, so lots of ships. Largest of all is the Vengeful Spirit. This is cool. It says it has cannons twice the size of the Endurance. So guns on the ship are bigger, 2 times bigger than that whole damn ship. Crazy, right? All right. Nathaniel is excited. He wants to get going. He's so happy to, he's going to be with his dad's side and get to see all his buddies and all stuff. But Mortarion, he waits. This is how he rolls. You know what I mean? Like he's like, you don't come to the party first. You know what I mean? He's like, I'm gonna let the Emperor's Children show up. I'm gonna let Rotary show up because that's how I roll. I don't, 5 minutes late is like fashionable. You know, he's like, I want them to show up because they think they're better than if I show up. You know what I mean? Oh yeah. So also I made a note here. So Nathaniel holds the memory coil of the distress video from book 3. So remember we mentioned that the reason they're Isstvan is because a Death Guard ship picked up the distress signal, and it says here that Nathaniel actually has the memory coil, whatever that is. I mean, it's probably very bulbous and stupid because
it's a really huge, probably the size of like a car battery, and it has like a 5-minute video on it.
See, in my head, it feels like a VHS tape. He's got like a VHS tape.
The death coil or whatever it's called.
All right. They talk about what's on the coil. He's shocked by the War Singer. We all know about the War Singer. The transmission was luckily received by a supply hauler heading for repair. So it wasn't even like a war vessel. It was like just like a freighter. You know what I mean? Like breaking out of the warp to go get some repairs, and they're like,
it's the truck drivers. Like, what the fuck is going on?
Yeah. How's that? You know. So before they get on the ship, Mortarion reminds them to watch and learn. So all these guys are playing the politics. You know what I mean? So even Mortarion is playing the politics. All right, so this is kind of cool. On their way, so like this is a giant ship. It's like bigger than many cities. So they're traveling through the ship. On their way to the meeting, Mortarion remarks how Fulgrim isn't here, and he's like, oh, it's so like him not to like show up. He's like too cool for that stuff. Nathaniel realizes that there's human qualities even in the Primarch. You know what I mean? So like, cause like Mortarion's kind of like saying how Fulgrim is like pompous and all. You know what I mean? Like he's too cool to even show up to this meeting. You know what I mean? Nathaniel wonders why a rare occasion 4 legions meeting up and there's no remembrancers. Where am I at? Oh. So yeah, so he's kind of asking about that. Mortarion's like, well, it's funny. We've always been strategically engaged, air quotes, and we don't have remembrancers. So that you find out here that like the Death Guard don't work. They were able to avoid that. You know what I mean? Like most people don't like the remembrancers, but they were able to avoid it totally. Mortarion informs Nathaniel that the reason you don't see him running about on the Vengeful Spirit is because recently there's been some accidents. So their movement has been restricted. That's so it's kind of it's lowering back into like because he's probably thinking like, oh, this ship's gonna be full of humans with their freaking books and paintings and all, and he don't see any, and he's like, what's going on? And Mortarion's like, oh yeah, there's a couple like ocean
some
came
Ignatius fell and ate a block.
Ignatius fell and hit his head.
Yeah, something in the head. I don't really know what happened.
So here's a little cool part of things. So they're getting on a tram, like to go from wherever they're at to the next part of the ship. Nathaniel sees an old man sneaking in the shadows with a slip of paper, and it's funny because like we know that's freaking old. That's old fucking Kirill, dude. Kirill's that's where Kirill is going to see Euphrates and try to steal her away from the Terminator guy. Remember?
Oh my god. He's like, is that Stranger Things over there? What the hell's going on?
Yeah.
It's like he just hears like the theme music in the corner. Weird. Well, all right, moving on.
All right, so Lupercal's court. Nathaniel finds a name full of vanity, but he's in awe of the War Master. He admires his unique armor, and he's got a glass pistol on his hip. It mentions that. I don't know what that. Do you know what that is? I don't know what that is. Did I miss something? A glass pistol?
Isn't like the Coral City and all that? Like Isstvan stuff is like glass.
Well, no, but this is before they haven't even stepped foot on Isstvan yet. This is before they meet. You know what I mean? So I don't know. I wrote it down because it said glass pistol.
I just remember because they also describe a lot of the buildings.
Oh yeah, true. But yeah, this was the meeting before they attack, so they haven't even gone down yet.
I think there's an easy answer to this. Erebus.
Yeah, yes. He stole more weapons.
He's just actually just a. Yeah, he's a kleptomaniac. We just didn't even know it.
Yeah. All right, Nathaniel nods to Loken. They kind of like exchange glances. He does see the rest of them Mournival, but he can sense something is weird between them. Like the way their body language, I guess. You know what I mean? He calls the Emperor's children dandies. And he said he doesn't like Lord Commander Ilon, and I was like, yeah, no one.
Yeah, it's like I don't find me someone that does.
He mentions on Angron, he recognizes a stark contrast between the two brothers. So Mortarion is like the silent death, and Angron is like raw aggression. So like totally two different sides of the spectrum. He recognizes who is that? What do I have? Who's KH? I have KH here.
KH. Are you talking about when? Is this still?
Yeah, they're meeting everyone. I have here. Where'd I go? Recognizes KH only by Karn. That's it. He recognizes Karn, so he says only by reputation and brutality. So he knows all these people, but not everyone like firsthand. All right. So the brief begins. The tape's played. He's looking at any reactions from people of the insane scream and the poor lady dying on the tape. And the only one he gets a reaction from is Loken. Loken looks, he shows discomfort. And obviously, because Loken's always, uber emotional.
He's just so, yeah, I mean, he's an Astartes and he feels nothing.
Yeah, right.
Feels no fear.
But the briefing goes as we were describing in the book. So, pretty much nothing really changes anyway. All right. He's so the briefing's over. He's ready to go back to his ship and all, but he's waved down by an unknown Emperor's children. Comes right up to him. He's got his helmet on. Who the hell is this asshole with his helmet on? He removes the helmet, and who is it? It's our boy Saul Tarvitz.
I love him.
Yeah, Saul Tarvitz.
Love him.
And then it mentions in this one that he has a brass plate across his brow. So I'd never seen pictures of him like that. So it said brass plate across brow, as if he has like a chunk of his head or something.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I picture. Yeah.
They clasp wrists. They talk about their matching eagle carvings because they're like best buddies. You know what I mean? It's like on their wrist van brace or guard. I just picture like these two like in a hole somewhere, just being like, "Hey, give me your hand." And he's like, "Oh, I'm gonna carve a eagle into your. Oh, I'll carve eagle into yours too.
They're friends. They're just
I
friends.
know. Yeah, they're real close friends. Yeah. All right, so they're happy because they're gonna fight again. You know what I mean? That's what they do. They're happy to be fighting together. Um, so Saul wasn't there. Saul wasn't in the briefing, so he's kind of filling in. He's like, "Hey man, Angron was punking out Lord Commander Ilon. Isn't that hilarious?" They're laughing. You know what I mean? And we jump to the exercise chamber where Decius and Sendak are playing Regicide, which is like chess, playing like chess.
Regicide. Regicide.
Is that a real game?
It's a word. It's like killing royalty.
Really.
And so I mean, you're trying to kill the king, Regicide.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, it's the boys. You got Haskers there, Rawls there. They're all just hanging out. You know what I mean? I made a note here. These scenes make a Death Guard very relatable. Pretty unique because like most of the other books, like I mean, I guess it's like they kind of got to make it quick because you only have one book to meet these people. But I remember like other books, like you always see them like doing stuff that is strictly like every time you have like a conversation with Little Horse and Torgodden, it's like they're fighting in the practice cages as they chat. Like these guys are like playing chess. You know what I mean? Like this guy's like looking at reading the data slate or something. You know what I mean? Like something like more normal.
Yeah.
Every moment it's like fighting, meditating on fighting,
benching 450 pounds, incline upside down.
I just thought that was kind of cool. You know what I mean? So, Voyan enters that's the medic. He's given details of the upcoming battle. But Hasker kind of he's like mad that he's like, whoa, Nathaniel hasn't told us anything, and they're all like, whoa, well, Voyan, how do you know all this stuff? You know what I mean? Like, what's going on here? Because he comes in kind of like, hey man, we're going here and here and all this cool shit. You know what I mean? And then Voyan gets defensive. He gets all defensive, and he's like, I can't say. And it's like, yo, that just gives you away, dude. Like, just say something.
It's like, I'm not in the lodge, but I'm in the lodge, but I'm not in it.
Yeah. So Hasker noticed something in his hand, and he snatches the lodge medal out of his hand. You know what I mean? Everyone's shocked because they all know Nathaniel is not down with the lodges. You know what I mean? I mentioned earlier that maybe he told Martari he doesn't care, but it says here that he expects his boys to follow suit. You know what I mean? Like, he ain't down with the lodges. We're not down with the lodges. Voyan, like, what are you doing? You know what I mean? So they're kind of going back for you. They want Voyan to quit. He said he won't. It's a bad thing. All this stuff. They keep going back and forth. Voyan kind of gets upset. He's sad they would see him as less of a brother because he's in the lodges. And as they're chatting, they don't know who is in there, but the whole time Nathaniel's in there. And they're all like, oh, it's like the kids fighting, and they all turn, and Dad's in the room, and they're all like, oh, shit. And he's just like, give me the room. And
I love it.
He's gonna give Voyan like a little scolding. Maybe
he called it a razor's edge of anger in Captain Garro's voice. It's just that's the dad voice. He used the dad voice. Give me the room.
So they start talking on why he joined the lodges. Voyan, I mean, this makes sense. He said he wants to know his patients better. He assumes, that's the justifiable, not just bro down. He's like, hey, I want to know him, because like they don't mention, so it's a medic, right? But they don't mention anything about like, does he help with like mental health? You know what I mean? Like, I don't know.
Yeah,
if they have mental health problems.
There's chaplain.
Well, no, they have chaplain.
Well, there is a chaplain, yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know, but he assumes he's going to be either redistributed or forced to quit the lodge because he knows Nathaniel don't play no games like that. You know what I mean? And he says, no. Do what's right for you, but you got to promise if the lodge ever compels you to turn from the face of the Emperor, you must quit. So that's a little foreshadowing there, buddy. You know what I mean?
I was like, hey, like, so like that literally gave me pause because I was like, this whole, like, one of the biggest themes of this whole series was this was unimaginable. Like this was not even like brother versus brother. It's just not even a thing. And as of right now, that has not happened. That has like not even been brought up.
Yeah.
So like they're still in the mindset of like book one. In my
I mean, in this timeline, the thing with what's his name? Dan, who's the guy who turned into the monster?
Oh, Jabal or something. I forget. Yeah.
Jubal.
Yeah.
So that's happened.
But they don't know about all that. They don't
No,
know.
I'm saying they don't know. They don't know, but that has happened. But they're saying that's the only thing we know so far. You know what I mean? Like they don't even know.
You got Garro over here just saying, "Hey, if the Horus Heresy 40K universe is a thing, can you just please let me know before that happens?
If the heresy ever happens, you let me know, and you got to quit." And they're like, "All right, you know."
This thing that's never gonna happen ever. If that particularly happens, you got to get out of there.
All right, so they he high fives them like, "Hey man, we're cool." He tells the rest of the boys like, "Look, man, Voyan, don't look at Voyan different. This is what he does. He's in the lodge, whatever. You know what I mean? It's not a problem." And he kind of wonders like, is he being too conservative in his own mindset because he knows things are changing, times are changing, and like he's probably fucking 300 years old. Who knows? You know what I'm saying? So he's probably, man, these centurions are really fucking little rapscallions. Yeah.
Yeah, he's like, the kid's got a lot of riz, as they say. Like he's just trying to stay fresh.
He's like, you've only been around for 150 years. You don't know anything. It's like, what the hell, man?
What are you talking about?
But he can't shake the feeling something is out. You know what I mean? Like something out there is gathering strength, he says, which is like it's so like on the nose.
It's so, like that whole section is on the nose. He literally like, listen, I get it, Mr. Swallow, but like you're like, hey, this character knows, he's got a good grip on reality, and I'm like, no, he knows everything you know because you're writing him as if he knows everything. Like,
yeah. So we get a little thing. Nathaniel's in the observatory thinking of Earth, thinking of the old Death Guard. They're called the Dusk Raiders before they were called Death Guard. He's thinking of the origins of Mortarion, the Emperor finding him, the defeat of the Dark Warlords. So look, they know about this. See? The Emperor finding him, defeat of the Dark Warlords, Mortarion taking the new Death Guard. Sad that as more authorities come from Barbarous, eventually there will be no more Dusk Raiders left. He considers himself, I mean, he is Death Guard. He like thinks of himself. He was probably with the Legion before they were reunited. You know what I mean? So they were part of the Raiders. So he's kind of just bummed out. You know what I mean? All right, so we jump to so we've seen this scene before, but we get it from a different angle now. So now we're on Isstvan Extremis, which is the like listening station, starport kind of thing. Death Guard are on the frozen surface there, moving with stealth towards the western wall. On the other side of this objective, the Emperor's children are attacking, drawing attention. The orders given, Death Guard move like a wave. They clear out the bunkers and place charges to blast the wall. It's so great that it also creates a crack in the target, the dome. Inside the dome looks nothing like expected. Instead of various machinery and connotators like they thought would be there, the area was open, dominated by a central ziggurat. So we've seen this before, made of various stones. They mentioned that the stones look like they're from all over. You know, they're not from the fucking wherever they're at. They're not from business. Decius is there. He hears discordant voices from a figure atop the ziggurat, and then we know that's obviously is the war singer. So he's hearing the war singer. The Death Guard fight heavy resistance. Soon, opposing doors on the end of the other building. So the pyramid is inside of a building.
Yeah.
So they come in one side, and then eventually the other side breaks through, and here comes the Emperor's children. So they're kind of like coming in.
No, pincer assault.
Yeah, pincer assault. Yeah. Decius now gets a better view of what's going on. He sees a woman hovering, and he's like, "What is that?" And Nathaniel's like, "That is the war singer."
He goes, "Blood's oath."
Yeah, blood's oath.
I was like, oh, good heavens! And it's like, brother, you're like as old as dirt. You kill things.
Yeah, like
kill things.
You never see anyone floating before. Like come on, dude. Like
you just killed the baby arachnid mind thing, and you're like, that's a thing singing. That's
oh my god,
weird. That's weird.
All right, so the Nathaniel and his boys are moving in towards the war singer. So they comment and they see how like casual flicks of her wrist sends like that guy Pyro flying into the air, crushing his body. You know what I mean? So she's like super powerful. Nathaniel rushes and smashes into a sound shield. The impact, the sounds she consumes add to her power. So like the sounds of the battle around her are like able to
feeding her.
Feeding her audio assault, whatever. He realizes only raw sound will kill her. Man, how's he know that? Jeez,
he's locked in, dude. This Garro guy.
She sends a wave of sound smashing into him because he blocks it for Decius. So it was meant for Decius, but he gets smashed with it. Decius is stunned and he can't find Nathaniel. He looks around and sees him with Saul. So we saw this scene, I think, already with Saul. You know what I mean? Like from Saul's perspective. He comes up and he kind of like he's a little like kind of mean to Saul, like, "Hey, get out of here! You know, this is Death Guard business." You know what I mean? Like, he looks over Nathaniel, his wounds, he's crushed, his right leg's gone because I think we already saw that part right before he has no gone, no
He ain't got no leg.
And so I hear it mentions shock gel for penetrations, coagulants, neurochemical agents, counter shock drugs from gland implants. So it's just cool little things they add in there. So like the body's wounded and it can just like push out things from his glands that like help coagulate the blood more quick. It's kind of cool, you know what I mean?
I love that. It's like brain pause blood to right leg.
All right, Nathaniel's super badass. He's like, I'm, give my sword. You know what I mean? His legs blown off. You know what I mean? He wants to get in the sword range to fight at least.
Bummer. All right.
Yeah. So yeah, he's like, he insists, but then he's like, oh, I gotta sit down. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, he tries, but it's too much. Decius finds Voyan and takes him back to Nathaniel. As they move, a loud shriek is heard as the war singer is slain. And we know from the other book that was who was that? Oh, Lord Commander Eidolon. Lord Commander Eidolon is yelling at the top of his lungs and kills the war singer. Little cool side note: Decius catches his head. Her head comes tumbling down. Decius catches it and hands it to the Emperor's children. Hey, here you go. This is for you.
I picture like Monty Python-esque, like, oh,
yeah.
It's just so ridiculous.
So the Isstvan, once she's dead, the Isstvan kind of give up, but the Astartes don't take any prisoners, man. They just kill them. They kill them.
So like, that's too bad. You did the thing where you were born on another planet.
Yeah,
that sucks.
We go back to Nathaniel, and he's being tended by Fabius. And one doesn't like that. You know what I mean? He's like, hey, like I said, get away. We tend to our own. You know what I mean? They carry Nathaniel off the battle. So, and then we have a little like inner monologue kind of. Nathaniel is aware his body is in a stasis. So I have a thing here about that. So it's called a Sus-an membrane, is one of the 19 genetically engineered organs created from the Astartes gene seed, used as a way to enter a state of suspended animation consciously or automatically as a reaction to extreme trauma. Once activated, the organ shuts down all biological and psychic functions. The heart will slow and stop. All metabolic activity will cease, and the nerve cells will stop firing. Lastly, the whole body will be blanketed with an electric field to kill any bacteria. Super cool, dude. It's like, so if you get beat up so bad, it'll go into like, I like the end, like electric field. Like, how the fuck does it do that?
Oh, he's fuzzy? Like he's like static?
Yeah, like static to kill bacteria, but it's kind of cool. So it's now we're looking in his mind. His mind's drifting. He's remembering his injury and how he was before. He thinks of his boys killed, and why not him? Like, why is he not killed? You know, who makes a call? Who does that? It's absurd and pagan, yet he can't shake the feeling of a distant brilliance, a will reared in him, sparing his life. Hears a voice. His hand lies upon us. The Emperor protects.
Yeah.
He also senses a dark storm and a single light close by. In the storm, he sees symbols. And they mentioned like I think I wrote notes here like symbols from Isstvan, symbols from Lupercal's court. So he's seeing like the bad guy symbols. A triad of skulls, 3 discs, 3 wounds. 3 is the number of Nurgle. So, Death Guard, everyone knows this probably.
Well, all right. Well,
yeah.
Sorry. I got laid in high school, so this is a little new to me. So yeah, Nurgle, right? So there's a recurring theme of Death Guard. They have a vibe, and my only gripe will go about this at the end is this is your introduction to the Death Guard, but
yeah,
obviously this is the story of Garro, which I love. I love Garro, awesome character, very much a protagonist, main character vibe. But I want to learn more about the Death Guard, and you don't know if you're like me that these are like the Nurgle boys. These are Martarians, some Nurgle guy.
Yeah, it's so hard because like if you were to just walk into a game store or whatever, you would that Death Guard's a prominent faction. Their models are cool, and they've been around for a while. So like you would probably see that before you would see this. You know what I mean? Like so. It's hard. I always see people online like, where should I start? Stuff like that. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think the Horus Heresy is like the necessary starting point because it's really just fleshing out the story that's been going on since 1987 or something, you know? But I don't know if there's a book that really fleshes out the Death Guard prior to their change besides this, which doesn't really, yeah, because I feel like a lot of this kind of assumes that you know that in the game or in now times, whatever, the Death Guard are the Nurgle boys because they're called the Death Guard. You know what I mean?
No,
But
it was just funny. It was just one of the points I pick up.
yeah, so I mean, if you were reading this and had no idea, like, I tried a Skulls 3 disc, that wouldn't mean anything to you. But like all the demons, all the Chaos Gods, each of them have a number they like. And 3 is the number for I don't know why. I mean, like I'm sure someone knows why, but this 3 is a number for Nurgle. So like it kind of hints at that, but you really wouldn't know. You know what I mean? All right, so he rises in his vision, seeing a short-haired woman in a hood, and he awakens in agony. Who's that? I don't know.
It's 11, dude. She's back.
11? Yeah. I was saying, yeah, that's definitely what we call it, right? 11?
Yeah, she's using her upside down powers to talk to Sleepy Garro.
All right, so now we're seeing to meet her. He's going to visit Nathaniel in the infirmary, and he's passing other Death Guard. I got a little quote here. Most would not return to combat status, but would suffer the comparative ignominy of becoming permanently stationed as ship crew, or else return to Barbarous to live out their days as command instructors to the novicates, the novices, whatever. But so as a little cool like insight, like so you have a lot of options here if you are. I mean, they're not up to you, but your life has a lot of options if you're wounded as a Astartes, at least in Death Guard. So you could be on the ship. You know what I mean? Like you can be like a captain of a ship, whatever, or you can go back and work at Buds. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's such a and also like kudos to whoever wrote this word, the novitiates.
Novitiates, yeah, like
novice and like initiates, novitiates.
Yeah, and I made a note here. It explains my ship's crew question because in all these books, 30K, 40K, some ships are commanded by people, and other ships are commanded by like a space marine. So at least in the Death Guard world, if you're on a ship, then you're probably means like you've been wounded, but not wounded enough where they put you in a dreadnought, which I think that's
puts you out to pasture. Yeah.
All right. So Demeter comes up and Caleb's there by his side, and he kind of like startles him, and he sees Caleb stuffing some paper in his robes real quick. So he's reading something, and I'm like, "Whoo, what's that?" You know what I mean? So Nathaniel, this is funny. Nathaniel is in what's called a support throne. So these guys don't even lay down. Yeah, he's not even in like a bed. He's like on a chair. That's the best you'll get.
I just picture like 2 stone blocks and like 1 IV, and it's like, hey man, if he makes it, he makes it.
Yeah. All right. So he's getting filled in. He goes, "Hey, what happened?" And he says, "All right, well, the attack on the Coral City will happen soon." He informs Nathaniel that he's like on like limited status, and he won't be fighting, and that'll make Nathaniel happy. You know what I mean? He's like, "What the hell are you talking about?" And it's like, bro, you got 1 leg, dude. Like,
you ain't got a leg, man.
You got 1 leg.
You just
I think by now he has the robot leg, but still, like, you got a new robot leg, man.
Yeah, and they talk about how he's like, hey, it hasn't been calibrated yet, but I'm good to go. And I'm like, oh, you trying to fill out the sensitivity settings, your Y axis?
Yeah. He's got to mess with his X and Y axis. Anyway, he's mad, and he gets his ass up from his support throne, and he hobbles off to go find Typhon because he's gonna give him a fucking piece of his mind because he's like, no fucking way. It's hilarious. So now Caleb's alone, and we see him taking out the papers, and he's laying them on the throne. He's fully convinced through his faith that the Emperor saved Nathaniel. He thinks he is a purpose, and he was reading these papers to Nathaniel. Caleb knows soon Nathaniel will be set to a task, and Caleb will guide him. So yeah, we got so Caleb is in, and which is also cool because now it shows that this the church is not just on the Sons of Horus fleet. You know what I mean? Like
it's everywhere.
It's everywhere. It's everywhere.
It's viral.
You know what I mean?
It's on TikTok.
Well, I remember the last one. It said that one of the sermons was broadcast through the fleet. But this is showing that this is like a whole nother set of of ships that are somewhere else. But this thing is like all over. You know what I mean? He begins praying from the Lectitio Divinitatis, and I wrote here as like, are they his own? Like, who's printing them? You know what I mean? Because like, remember in the last book, they go into detail how these things are being printed on the Vengeful Spirit. Were they like sent, or it made you think of like how like on Earth all these years, like the Bible and all has been like altered through other people's interpretations. So like, is it a little different because like they're hearing it through hearsay, like, hey, Biggie this, Biggie that, and they're like, yeah, write it down, and then they print it, and it's like, no, man, Biggie has blonde hair, you know what I mean, or like whatever.
No, he has a beard. He has a beard, and he's jacked.
Yeah, he's a Jack White dude. No, he's not. He's Jack White. Yeah, you know what I mean. So it just made me think it's kind of funny. All right, Nathaniel and Demeter, he's hobbling down. He's trying to calm him down and stuff, and he's gonna go talk to the boss. He's gonna talk to Mortarion. He says, he sees Grogor. They kind of spar back and forth. He says, "No, well, Mortarion's not here, dude. So you give it up." He's like, "I don't care. I'm gonna go talk to Typhon then." And he bursts into the dude's like wardroom or stateroom, whatever. You know, he just kicks in the door in a sense, and he demands that he's gonna fight. And Typhon's like, "Nope." Big Daddy says, "No, you're not. You're not fighting." Grogor sees it as a perfect opportunity to kind of make fun of him. Like, oh, guess what? But before he can, Typhon lets him know that you aren't fighting either, dude. You're not going either. And he's like, what the hell? You know what I mean? And then he kind of gives them their order. He says, both of you guys will be on a Imperial warship providing standby tactical support, and they'll share command equally. And it's like, this seems like just a recipe for disaster here. You know what I mean? You're going to put the old vet dude who's mad not fighting not up against, but like co-command of this guy who doesn't like him. You know what I mean? Like,
and it's like, you guys have lived together for 300 years. He doesn't like him. Like, he's like, this is funny. Hey, you work with him because I
just want to see you guys squabble. You know what I mean? So, but Nathaniel cools off and then he leaves. Grogor does stay behind, and Typhon is going to inform him of the real deal, the real business here. All right, so Typhon pretty much tells Grogor that they know that Nathaniel's not going to be down with because we all know what happened at Isstvan. He's not going to be down with it. Grogor is to ensure that when called, the ship does what it needs to do. And any means necessary in a sense. You know what I mean? So that's why he's putting Nathaniel there to kind of get him out of the way. But his fail-safe in a sense is I put Grogor there because I know Grogor's on our side, and we can kind of kill two birds with one stone. You know what I mean? Because like we get that vibe. You know what I mean?
I get it would have looked fishy, I guess, if they sent Garro down on half a leg. And
yeah, I don't know. I mean, because of the story, it has to. But yeah, why not? Why not?
Like, and you could have been like, yeah, this is the toughest dude that's ever toughed. We got to send him down.
Yeah. Like, I mean, we wouldn't have this book, and we wouldn't have Garro. But like,
Games Workshop.
I feel it would have made more sense. Like, all right, we know he's not with us, so all the rest of the guys are sending people aren't with us down there. He wants to go down there. He's insisting.
They probably, I figure, like the Mortarion was like, "There's no way this guy's gonna want to go down there. Just send him to the Eisensein." And then he's like, "Oh no, you're going to the Eisensein."
All right, so Nathaniel goes back, tells his boys kind of the bad news. You know what I mean? Like, we are not going to fight. And they're like, all right, where are we going? We're going on a ship, a temporary ship named the Eisenstein. Just like the book.
They pulled a Suicide Squad. What is this? Some sort of Suicide Squad?
So the Chapter 7 stars Death Guard have the honor of being the first on the ground in Isstvan 3. Demeter and his boys, they pop out of the drop pod, and they start fighting. There's a landscape full of tunnels, trenches outside the Coral City. So now we're getting that view of the fight from their angle. They could have passed this area, but it would not send the correct message, which is kind of just kind of goofy. Like why not just go right for the throat? But they have a message they want to send.
No, we're gonna kill everyone.
Yeah, and I got a quote here. It says, "It would have been a simple matter for the Astartes invasion force to bypass the trench lines and land behind them. But to do that would have sent the wrong message. It would have implied that the fortifications were somehow a challenge to Imperial might, when clearly they were nothing more than a minor impediment. So, Demeter and the Death Guard would walk into the fire corridors of the Isstvannian lines. They would rend and destroy them and march on to the Coral City to show these deluded fools the truth. Nothing could stand in the way of the Emperor's will." So macho, dude. I mean, they could have just bombed these people.
Yeah, and like that's also like we got a Games Workshop to horse the heresy. So like,
kind
I
of
get
dope.
it. But yeah, we're gonna like send a message. I want to just erase North America on foot. By the way,
All right, so now we are back with Nathaniel, and we meet the people from the Eisensein. So we meet the shipmaster Baryek Karya. He's relinquishing his command to Nathaniel and to Grolgor. So I'm assuming he's a human. Nathaniel's kind of like he's got the watchful eye, so he's kind of like weirded out because he sees one final Stormbird lands in the landing bay, but no one gets out. So it's kind of like, that's kind of weird. Grolgor says he's going to go inspect the ship. Nathaniel tells his housecarl to supervise the cargo offload, and he says, "Hey man, let me know what comes off of that last one." So he's got like the little spidey senses tingling that something's up with that Stormbird.
he's got his plot senses.
Voyan chimes in that Grolgor, he's acting weird. He's like, extra assholey, you know what I mean? But Nathaniel, being staunch, he's like, no, shut it down. He's like, hey man, that guy's, he's in charge of me. But he does feel something's amiss. Like, he doesn't like feeling this way. He says, all these things are like firing off in his head. Like something's not going right. We jump back to Meter and the boys down on Isstvan. They're just doing their business. Take out an in-place gun. They see a gigantic cylinder drop down from the sky, and it opens up and it reveals the Deus Irae. So, like I said, we had this view from the Deus Irae, the last one, seeing the Death Guard in the trenches, and now we're kind of getting the opposite view. So a young officer's telling Demeter that the Vox channels can't be reached, so they can't like get a hold of anyone. And he's like, "Are they jammed?" He's like, "No, it's like certain frequencies are turned off. It's like as if some people don't want to talk to them." Demeter orders Death Guard into the trenches. They say, "All right, forget it. We're keep moving." You know what I mean? Just a little minor impediment. We don't know what's going on with a radio, but we're going to keep going. All right. Nathaniel's on the bridge of the Eisenstein. He feels a connection to the ship already. It was launched the same year he became an Astartes.
Wow.
All right, he's talking to the shipmaster. He says there's not much action expected. He orders to remain here and pick off any escapees that are going to be fleeing the planet. At that moment, new orders come in for the Eisenstein to move into low orbit over the Coral City. And that kind of weird to him because it says here, Nathaniel Garro's hypno training told him that new coordinates would make the current mission unachievable. So I don't know, what's hypno training here?
So I read that as like his programming of like tactical priority optimization.
So think of like the Matrix when he does kung fu and all. You know what I mean? Like, but like it's like that. But also they use it for I've seen books where they use it for those new Astartes, the Primarius. They use it to like induct them into their chapter. Like they teach them their history, like just boom, boom, boom through hypno training. You know what I mean? But also tactical stuff. So like he's tactically sound about the movements of ships, not because he did 50 years on a ship, but because he was hypnotically trained to know that this is how they operate. You know what I mean? And it kind of reminds me of the time. Remember when they talk about Horus when he fell and he's like, "I'd be on the ship a decade ago." You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
I know. So it's kind of like that. That could have been the same thing. He could have been hypno trained on all the various schematics of all the ships. Maybe, you know what I mean? Something like that. But either way, so he knows that moving is not like it's like we can't pick him off if we move. You know what I'm saying? Like he knows something's not right with that. He feels uneasy. Only logical reason to move would be for a bombardment. But he doesn't like stop it. He's like, all right, well, let's see how this pans out. Yeah. We see Caleb. Caleb's now sneaking around. He's like dressed as a crew member of the ship, which I find is funny. Like he's like going full spy mode. Like he's like,
and all he was told was like, "Hey, let me know what comes off that thing."
yeah.
He's like,
he's like, hey, stay here. Yeah, stay here and just let me call the ship. He's like, all right, and he's like knocks some guy out, I guess, and like steals his clothes.
the woman's locker room, got a set of coveralls.
Yeah. He even says he knew it was criminal, but he felt orders from a higher power. So he follows the cargo off the ship. Not only like he sees it, he goes to follow it. He sees Grogor and his dudes supervising the opening of crates at the gun deck. Sees spheres filled with greasy green liquid. So I think of The Rock, the movie with Nicolas Cage and Sean Connery.
Oh my god, the green chemical balls.
Yeah,
and there's like made of glass for some reason.
Fear strikes him and he flees, knocking over a servitor. And it tracks Moiker, one of Grogor's dudes. So he knocks over this Grogor guy and he's like, I compute. He's like, it's like so comical, you know what I mean? So he's trying to hide. He's scared. He's going to be found. He's going to be killed. But out of the shadows, he's rescued by Voyen, who's also spying. So like, remember how Voyen mentioned before how like he's like, hey man, Grogor's like up to something. You know what I mean? And like, no one listens to Nathaniel. This guy told him to tell him what comes off the ship. Goes way beyond that. Other guy, he says, hey, don't worry about Grogor. It's okay. And he's like, nah, we're gonna go spy. I mean, good thing they do. You know what I mean?
Well, like Boy, I guess Boyan missed the last memo at the lodge meeting, because like,
which is funny. Well, so yeah, I mean, so I feel like okay, so if I'm trying to put this in what makes the story make sense to me. I feel like they're not telling everyone at the lodge exactly what's going on, because I feel like okay, so you got the sphere of Astartes, and then inside that circle of trust is the lodge, and then a smaller circle of trust inside the lodge is like Erebus and the boys. You know what I mean?
Gotcha.
Like who know everything.
And they're like, we're gonna push the final domino, and like they'll follow suit. Like they're
like if we can't trust them right now to tell them everything, but once they realize that there's no way out, because if they don't go with us, they're gonna die. Then they'll probably go with us. I mean, this is a guess. You know what I'm saying? But I feel Voyen doesn't know how nefarious it really is. You know what I mean? That's the jive you get. That's the gist you get from his character in the book. All right, so just where am I at? Okay, so yeah, Voyen's fine too. Voyen is visibly shook because he also sees. He tells Caleb what it is that's in those things, and he instructs him to go tell Nathaniel. He's like, I'm gonna stay here. You go fucking tell Nathaniel that you saw Sean Connery's green globe.
You saw Sean Connery and Nicolas Cage unloading the green poison gas.
Or back on the bridge, Karya announces that he's seeing a Thunderhawk moving within their from the androgynous. What did I say?
The androgynous.
Yeah. And it's followed by fighters. So we know what this is from the last one. Fighters are firing on it. Lord Commander Ilan puts out a message that the Thunderhawk is rogue and must be shot down. Nathaniel doesn't. He don't like Lord Commander Ilan. He's I'm not jumping.
I love that you didn't know this either in the last book, but in this one you're like, yeah, this guy. Like, I really don't fucking like Eidolon. Like I don't like, and he's kind of just looking for a reason to not listen to him anyway.
Yeah, so he's like, I want to talk to him. You know what I mean? He's like, fuck Lord Commander Ilan. He goes, and it makes sense. He's like, well, there's an Astartes on there. You know, I want to know what's going on. I'm not going to shoot on someone without knowing. So channels open up, and it's Saul. We all know that. Decius can't believe a man of honor such as Saul would turn traitor, and that's where that section ends. So we move into part 2. It's called A Sundered Vow.
Sundered.
And chapter 8. Okay, so we have all right, so we're still on the bridge. Sendek is standing, he stuns at a situation in the bridge. Decius being a new guy, he thinks it's a drill, maybe a test. You know what I mean? Like, what's going on here? And then he's thinking like, well, if a governor, the guy running Isstvan can turn, why can't an Astartes turn? You know what I mean? Because now we know, like, so Saul has made his proclamation over the comms. You know what I mean? The crew's in disbelief at his words. The ravens are closing in. Nathaniel and Saul talk back and forth. They're going back and forth over, Saul, what's going on? Like, we saw this conversation from the last book. So Nathaniel's like, all right, hey, give me manual control of the weapon. All right, if anyone's going to do it, it's going to be me. He prepares to fire. The guns move to track target. Fire silent in the void. Sendek cannot believe. Nathaniel just killed Saul Tarvitz. He knows they're honor bros. Nathaniel makes his way to a private Vox. So I always found this funny. So like in all these scenes, the radio is like behind a curtain. There's a private area. You know what I mean? So he goes behind the curtain. And he gets close to it. He says, Sendek can't believe it. Decius says it was a direct order. Like, what else are you going to do? And Sendek's like, I'm not. No way. He replays the shot on the holodeck. He sees the truth of what happened. So like Saul didn't really shoot down. I'm sorry, Nathaniel didn't shoot down Saul. He shot down the other guys, the pilots. So Decius is nervous. Nathaniel has disobeyed direct order. He's going to tarnish the Death Guard. And Sendek knows that whatever he did, he had a good reason. But they're curious. His guys, they come up to him. They say, "What's going on? What is this? What is this?" Nathaniel says, "There's a storm coming, looking hollow and broken." All right, so he walks away from his little private chat after talking to his boys. He tells the crewman to tell the androgynous that Saul was shot down. Decius confronts him. He's pissed off. He says, Saul Tarvitz's word is worth 1,000 of Lord Commander Eilon. So yeah, I said, no one likes Eilon. He don't care what he says. You know what I mean? I mean, obviously it makes sense because it was Saul and Nathaniel are such good buddies and all, but Sendek and Decius don't understand why kill our own to take the Coral City. Nathaniel can't find the words to tell them the truth of what he already knows. I got a quote on that one. The sheer horror of it, the ripping, echoing void inside his thoughts stopped him dead. Betrayal. He couldn't make the word, couldn't force it from his throat. That Horus himself, great Horus, the beautiful and magnificent War Master, had done this. The idea of it made him go weak, and with the realization there came another. If Horus had prepared this treachery, then he had not done it alone. It was too big, too monumental an endeavor, even for the War Master to manage by himself. Yes, Horus's brothers would be part of it too. Angron, ever ready to take any path that led him to more bloodshed. Fulgrim, convinced of his own superiority and perfection over all. And the Death Lord himself, in secret conspiracy with the War Master. So he's having like a mental breakdown, you know what I mean? To think, like this is like their moment of knowing exactly what is happening, and how they're complicit. They're not personally, you know what I'm saying, but like them as in their legion.
He's like, whoa. The team with the death skulls and the scythes and the all black, and my dad looks like the Grim Reaper. We're not the good guys.
Yeah.
Like, oh my God.
At that moment, Nathaniel is recalling his talk of Mortarion about what they talked about in the gantry, and he's like, is this what he was alluding to? They're all interrupted by Caleb, and he says, hey, you guys got to see this stuff on the gun decks. You got to see what I found, and then so they kind of they go off to see what happens. We jump back to Voyn. He's watching the virus loading. And his training as a medic has seen like what the virus can do firsthand. You know how like destructive it is. So I pictured him like, so off in a distance, the guns are being loaded, and I picture like behind some crates, they're all like,
like Metal Gear Solid Snake.
Yeah,
in the cardboard box.
They're in a cardboard box. Here goes Nathaniel. Voyn hopes to defuse the situation by talking with. He was, let me go talk to Grogor. We're lodge buddies. You know what I mean? Like this is all a big misunderstanding. Nathaniel says, mark me, this will end only one way. And he just walks out, and he's like, I'm going to go fucking talk.
Yeah, like, hey, you can. I think, like, he's pointing a literal, like, the nuke gun.
Yeah, we're done talking.
Melter.
So he walks out into the open and calls him out. Grogor is like, kind of just, get out of here, Nathaniel. And he's like, nope. Grogor claims the Emperor left them He has no authority over us. What we do here is the will of the War Master and Mortarion. And then Nathaniel breaks his sword out. He says, last time, man. Last time, I'm going to ask you to stand down. Grogor bares his throat, and he scoffs. He calls Nathaniel weak for saying, you can't do what needs to be done. So he's kind of like, I got him all like, hey, you want to do it? Come on, do it. And he still hasn't reached that point. You know what I mean? Like I said, you got to think of the magnitude of, like, brother killing brother in this level. You know what I mean? Like, they haven't seen this. This is their first introduction to, like, and they haven't even seen it technically. You know what I mean? I don't know who's flying those fighters though.
Yeah, he's like, but he'll shoot 5 servitors that.
Well, yeah, that's I assume they're servers. I don't think they were. You know what I mean? But,
Well, he calls them like.
Oh, does he? Okay.
Like, got the dudes who are like installed into the cockpit, and like. He's like, those guys are good to go. We can get rid of them. That's fine. That's not the biggest.
All right, so then the fight's gonna happen. Grogor pulls out his gun. The good guys are outnumbered by the bad guys, but the area is like cluttered, and then obviously there are bombs around. So like the fight's awkward. There's not gonna be a lot of, like, long range bolter fire here. They don't want to do that. It's a melee. No one's gonna want to shoot. Nathaniel is stunned when he kills his first brother. So yeah, there's a quick scene of him like killing one of Grogor's lackeys. But it kind of like messes with his head because, this is his first time. Like, holy shit, like I'm killing a Death Guard guy, and I'm a Death Guard guy. You know what I mean? There's humans too. So the humans are rushing at Caleb, grabbing at him, clawing at him. He wrestles a gun away from one, and he starts blasting. Pretty cool. He spies a Death Guard aiming down the sights at Nathaniel. He says a prayer to the Emperor, and he fires at that guy. Grogor's shot goes wild, ricocheting. He throws a knife like action hero style, and it boom hits Caleb right in his chest.
Dude, just Dobby. You ever seen Harry Potter? Just straight Dobby. So like,
or there's actually a scene. You ever see a Predator?
Oh my god! Stick around.
Stick around. Yeah, stick around.
And it's an Astartes knife, so it's probably the size of.
Yeah, it's probably as long as his torso. So Caleb lies there. He's dying. He hears some glass breaking. He sees thin line of dark haze coming from a broken warhead. So one of the spheres is now leaking out. You know what I mean? That's not good. Voyan knows. He sees it. He knows what he's. Oh, we gotta get out of here. So him and Sendek, they're disengaging from the enemy. Nathaniel looks and sees Caleb dying. Who shouts, "You are of purpose. The God Emperor wills it." Caleb's last bit of strength pushes the emergency release switch, and it seals off the area. So big blast doors start closing, and then Nathaniel, like Indiana Jones style, like slides under the closing door. So all the good guys are on one side, and then the bad guys are on the other. Moiker lunges at Nathaniel, but only gets halfway as the door slams down and cuts him in half. That's super cool. It says the pounding on the door grows soft. Nathaniel thinks of what Caleb had said. He said, "What purpose, huh?" Nathaniel tells Voyan to relay to Kara, vent to space before it spreads, and we all die. Release the entire warlord out of space. So you got the bad guys trapped in there with the gas leaking, and he's like, "Hey man, we got this. Like we don't know if it's going to seep through the seals and all the stuff. So we got to get rid of this stuff." We jump to the bridge. The little Death Guard are form up on the observation floor. Decius, Hacker, Andis, Voyan, Sendek. They're all what's going on? Because not all them guys went down to the gun deck. You know what I mean? And he's like, "Hey, Nathaniel's coming. Don't worry about it." They fill each other in on Saul Tarvitz and the Thunderhawks. They're all kind of getting to the same spot. Decius is smarting over that. Loyalities are pulling him in different directions. So he's he's a new guy, and he's not like he just wants us all to be like over with in a sense. Like he doesn't want this to be happening. You know what I mean? He's really upset that this is happening, and he doesn't know what to do. And it's kind of like pulling him in different directions. Nathaniel enters with Kara, and there's a lady here, Officer Vault. Tells them once they leave this room, they're going to be branded as rebels. He relays the story of the gun deck. They're all shocked, disbelief. Hacker wants to know why Grogor would do this. He doesn't know how far it goes. Nathaniel studies himself and tells the assembled about Saul's warning and what happened on the bridge. that Grolgor was under orders from War Master, aided by Fulgrim, Angron, and the Death Lord.
You're right.
The gang's blown away. Void mentions of whispers at lodge meetings. The whispers of disapproval of Biggie's departure, discontent of others of orders from Count Terra. So like I said, I was saying before, like I don't think everyone knew the exact plans, but just by hanging out there, he was like, getting the vibe like that people were mad that now they got to take orders from the Council of Terra, which is like a bunch of humans. You know what I mean?
Dirty humans that are lesser than us.
Yeah, exactly. All right, Nathaniel informs the plan of why people were handpicked to go to Isstvan because they're going to be exterminated. His injuries, the only reason Nathaniel was there on the ship. So I guess, I guess like I still understand. Like, just send this broken ass down there if you don't like him. You know what I mean? like he wouldn't care. You know what I mean?
He's gonna catch a stray bolt around anyway. Like, let the boy just go out where he wants to.
All right, so now they're kind of like, what are we gonna do? Like, like we're gonna be discovered. Like, what the hell's gonna go? What can we possibly do? Decius is the first to understand. He's like, oh, you plan to run. You plan to flee. Nathaniel knows it's the only good they can do. Try and warn Terra. The ship people, Kara and Vault, do not recommend a warp jump. It's been the warp's been really rocky recently. You know what I mean? Remember that Lord of Shadows? Remember Lord of Shadows said we can make the warp all crazy.
Turn off the Wi-Fi.
But he says, hey, we got to go for it. You know what I mean? Shipmaster's on board. He has he tells Hacker, which is like his vet guy, says, hey, take the boys and secure this ship. So anyone, ship crew or any of the other Death Guard who are not with us, you know what I mean? Like, get everyone in line, you know what I mean? Because we're about to do some business here. The meeting's interrupted by a comms officer. His name is Moss. It's a message from Typhon to Grogor, telling him to begin bombing, terminate all impedance to the operation. So this, before they leave, Nathaniel busts out, Stardy style, breaks out his Oath of Moments.
he has like I right. Jesus Christ. Just writes them all down. He's like, all right, this one's yours. Which one's Hacker? Hacker is yours.
Yeah. What's your name? You here. So he breaks out all the oaths, and they all swear to get the Eisensein back to Terra. And Deci's like, well, then who's gonna act as our witness? And Nathaniel's like, the Emperor will act as our witness.
Yeah.
So he's already like you'll see later. He goes farther into it, but he's already starting to go a little like, I'm of purpose. He had his little vision in his death throne or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, all right, that ends chapter 8. Chapter 9 starts. Nathaniel's in his chambers. He's conflicted over what's been happening. He feels really bad that the War Master would use so many of his brothers in treachery, and that so many would blindly obey. He thought momentarily of broadcasting his knowledge to the whole expedition, but he knew loyal men existed out there. But he realizes stealth is their best advantage. So this is the best way to try to get some help to what's going on. He views his new. He looks at his new appointed gun etched with names of those who used before. So that was kind of cool. It's like, so when you die, they still need the weapons. So they like, like your M4 gets like etched with Johnson. And then like one line.
I know it's like some like slave servitors like yeah right. Garro.
So he has Pierre Raw, the guy who was blown apart by the war singer. He has his gun now. He vows to do his buddy honor. So now in his room is his little house Carl stuff, and he's like sad looking through the stuff. He truly realized how he valued him as a servant, sounding board, and a comrade. He's going through his stuff, and he finds his Bible, and now it kind of all makes sense. Against his own training, against his own hypno training, he reads this stuff, which is like a big no-no. His mind a tempest after all has happened. So like with all this stuff going on, he's like kind of like reaching for something to like ground him in a sense. You know what I mean? So he jumps to the holy world. It's all too much. He falls to his knees and he cries out for help. He instinctively makes a sign of the Aquila, and then he asks the emperor to give him faith. I've had a big jump. You know what I mean? It's like quick. You're muted.
It's a quick jump, man. Like it's.
I mean, chapter 8 of I don't know how many chapters there are. You know what I mean? 17, so halfway ish. But yeah, so like, yeah, it's like so like he's sad, and then he doesn't know what to do. He finds the Bible, and they instantly just like,
God.
Emperor should give me strength.
And like, also, yeah, my favorite still is the hey, Voyan, if they're Horus Heresying, we gotta not do that.
Yeah.
And also, I found this Bible. This is kind of my thing now.
Well, when he does that, he feels a flush of energy in his mind, and he hears a strong and delicate voice. Save us, Nathaniel. It freaks him out. He feels like, it reminds him of the alien baby, you know what I mean? But he hears a voice though, so it's like, okay. He's staring at the papers, kind of, freaked out. Decius bursts in. He lets him know the bodies are dead. He's super mad at what's going on, and maybe it was like maybe he wasn't on the list, kind of like Lucius does, but back in other books.
Yeah, he's like, I'm only here because of you.
Yeah, he's kind of saying that stuff. He's like, not that Decius would go traitor, but he wanted his own choice. So he's mad because like he's not saying that he would have fired the virus bombs, but he's just mad that he got lumped in with Nathaniel. But I'm like, well, then what are you saying? Because your only other option is to do the traitor stuff. You know what I mean? Like I don't know. I'm not sure where he's going with that one. He says, Nathaniel sees frustration on his face, and he says, speak freely. And he goes, well, what gives you the authority to decide this? What if it is we who are the traitors? And Nathaniel replies, you've seen it. If there was an explanation, I would give much to know it. And Decius says, well, what if Horus is right? And I feel like Nathaniel's going to smack the shit out of him. But then, like, alarms start going off. They don't get to finish their conversation. So we jump back to Demeter. They're down there in the thick of Isstvan. The Vox is picking up like fragments of Emperor's children to Sons of Horus, talking about a bioweapon of some sort. Demeter's confused. He's got no intel that the Isstvannians even have a bioweapon. He looks up and he sees the Deus Ares like totally silent, not moving anymore. So prior to this, for the other book, it's stomping around, it's blasting stuff. He said, he looks closer and he sees like vents that are closed, hatches that are shut. I don't even know how he knows where these are at, but whatever, you know what I mean? But so they try to vox the Deus Ares, and they're not getting an answer. So then, as he's looking at the Deus Ares, he looks skyward and he sees streaks cutting through the atmosphere. He instantly moves into action, orders a withdrawal to the west bunker. He passes by a dreadnought who's named Huron Foe, who has done this to Demeter. No time, old friend. And he's like, yeah, just get out of here, man. But he knows there's only one person who could send them. So he knows what's going on. I mean, without having to be spoon fed it, you know what I mean? He's like, well, whose spaceships are up there? You know what I'm saying? Like,
it's like if they're bombing us, it's only coming from the people.
I don't know if he thinks it's like a treachery against them. Maybe he's like, I don't know. I guess they decided to bomb. Like that's kind of messed up. Like they could have told us, All right, so we're back to the ship, and it's a sad moment. Nathaniel and his boys are watching the barrage from a gallery above the barracks. It seemed like only the Eisensein guns were not the only. Like everyone else is like just bang, 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 firing virus bombs down into the on the planet. It gives a description here of the weapons: Atlas-class heavy warheads converted for space-to-surface function, servitor-guided missile bombs. So there's a little dude.
There's a homie in there. Hell yeah, dude. Yeah. Oh, you think these are just... And the best part, they're just going down. It's not like they're going to miss. No. These guys, they're really sending them home. Like, hey, I know you...
Yeah, Like, how accurate is it got to be to just point it to the planet? And
It's like, hey, I know you tie shoes like for a living, but like you're gonna sit in this bomb and
no, I think it's even worse than that. I think literally that when these bombs are made, they already put like
they're
in my head.
in there.
Yeah, like hey, okay, we're making 100 bombs, and we need to be servitor guided. Okay, cool. Mechanicum like lops off 100 heads and makes them still alive, and like just puts them in there, and then these poor things just sit in storage until they're ready to rock.
They go, hey, what was your SAT score? Oh, yeah, we know where you're going, bud.
Yeah, cool. You can guide a missile. All right, so we jump back to the surface. Demeter and Hohenfeld rushing men into the bunker. Try to. He knows there's no way they're all going to make it. And he's wondering who's betrayed us. Why? Hohenfeld tries to shove Demeter into the bunker as the first wave opens in the air. Second wave opens on impact. So you got some that are air bursting, and then some that are smashing into the ground. He knows it's too late. He orders the door sealed as he tastes blood in his mouth. He slumps against the dreadnought, noticing a crack in the dreadnought's hull. And, even he's not going to be safe because, he's not sealed up. In the final act of defiance, Hohenfeld overloads his power core, creating an explosion, allowing him and Demeter to die on their own, terms. So he's like, well, we'd rather blow up than be eaten alive by the virus. That's like Aliens. Remember the Aliens movie, the second Aliens, where they're in the vent?
Oh, yeah.
And they're like, the grenade.
I always hated you.
Yeah.
And it's the token Latino with the red head.
Yeah.
Bandana.
Yeah.
Ramirez. Yeah, was it Ramirez?
Ramirez, yeah. And like some asshole guy, and they're like, I hated you. And they're like grabbing the grenade and like. All right, so now we're back with Nathaniel and Decius. They're watching the carnage from orbit. They're both overwhelmed by the destructive power. Nathaniel knows it's not over as the vengeful spirit now moves in the firing position. I wrote typical War Master. He wants to get the final shot. You know what I mean? Nathaniel thought of his boys, Demeter, Saul Tarvitz, and he hoped that they survived. An alarm is ringing, and they're rushed to the bridge. There's a problem. The shipmasters discuss it. He didn't sign up for any of this stuff. He ensures Maz sent his ruse message to the Terminus S, acting as Brolgar, feigning a weapons malfunction. So that's what they did to kind of keep Typhon shut up for a while. You know what I mean? Because he's probably like, hey, why aren't you firing, dummy? You know what I mean? So he's trying and then these guys are trying to try to deflect it. You know what I I mean?
Yeah. We had a jam on Gun 5.
Yeah.
How's your day going?
The Vox officer thinks this is crazy. Like, why are we doing this? I'm risking my rank. You know what I mean? So the shipmaster's like, just get out of my way. He shoves Moss's face to the viewport, showing him what wrong looks like. So he's like, oh, you think this is wrong? You piece.
Oh, you're worried about a pay deduction. My brother down there is getting eaten alive by his large intestine.
Yeah, so this Moss guy, he's only a minor character, but it reminds me of the what was his name? Arukin, Jonah Arukin.
Oh yeah.
He's just like, man, I don't lose my rank. You know what I mean?
Retirement.
Yeah. I got kids to feed, man. Like, what the hell? All right. Another officer vault informs that a Thunderhawk is heading their way, and it's heading fast. If they shoot it down, though, they're going to be their cover's fully blown. I mean, I feel the cover's already kind of blown, but there's still a little bit of it. So if they shoot this thing down, they're going to be they're like, hey, well, obviously this guy's not with us. Nathaniel enters with Decius. Decius wonders if it's Saul again. It's not, though. It says the ID codes from the machines talking. It's the Sons of Horus. And they're like, is it Horus? Does he know? And yeah.
In the one...
Yeah, the Horus himself is coming to just smack you around. Like, get out of here. All right, so they all turn to Nathaniel, like, hey, what do we do? You know what I mean? So he's like, fuck it, let's go talk to him. And so he goes to his little radio and asks them to identify. And it's fucking our boy, dude, Acton Cruz, dude.
Dude, I love it. Hey, it's me, Acton.
Like the old prospector, you know what I mean? Like,
hey, y'all. You got your room on the Eisensein?
So as we saw the last one, it's Acton, and he was told to tell the truth. So he's telling him that he's defected from the Sons of Horus. The people on the Eisensein think it could be a trick. Nathaniel says no, and he knows that she quotes is on that ship, and he lets the Thunderhawk dock.
That line by Karya. He's like, no, she's on the ship, and he's like, what the fuck?
What are you talking about? Yeah, that was a man that talked to you.
Like, no, she's there. I'm like, what?
Yeah, what? What the hell? This guy's crazy. All right, so the Thunderhawks docking. Death Guard ain't playing no games. They're ready, like they're locked and loaded. Down the sights. But Nathaniel's not. He can't explain, but he knows the ship contains a cargo as precious as their warning. The acting crew steps off, greeting him. He offering up his gun to be killed because they assume now that they are on, like Acton and the Stranger Things gang. They assume they're on a ship that's bad. You know what I mean? Like, because remember they're leaving. They're like, "What do we do?" And she's like, "Hey, just tell the truth." And he's like, "Whatever, lady. I mean, this is you just killed us. You know what I mean?" So, but he's like, he says, here's my gun. We can't run anymore, man. And then Nathaniel like surprises him, but he says, he welcomes them and tells them, he kind of gives them a run of the plan. I got a quote from that. He says, the captain stepped forward and offered the crews his hand. I have a mission to take warning of Horus's perfidy to Terra and the Emperor. Will you join me in this? I will at that, Cruz said, accepting the gesture. I pledge my command to your mission, such as it is. I'm afraid all I have to offer from the Third Company is a single Luna Wolf, getting along in his years. Luna Wolf, repeated Decius. Your legion. The old soldier's eyes flashed with anger. I'll not be known as a son of Horus again. Mark that well, lad. I like that. Acting Cruz had enough. He's like, I had enough of all this bullshit. Dude. Like,
it's actually just Sean Connery. He's actually
okay, so the acting like kind of introduces the other refugees. You got Kira Cinderman, who Nathaniel remembers as that creepy old man he saw running through the halls. Mercedes Overton, our big, dome-headed imagist. No, she's not. Yeah. Is she an imagist? No. She's a writer. Because the other one.
she snack.
Yes. Yeah. It says that, or maybe I don't know. But Nathaniel is fascinated by her long skull and delicate manner. And then Euphrates Keeler. Nathaniel isn't sure if she is real. He knows her, though they have never met. She touches Nathaniel. Save us, Nathaniel Garro. The humans are taken away. IQ Cruz wants to know the plan, and the hacker's like, "We fight our way out," and that ends the chapter. So yeah, so like he's kind of like been like that's the lady who's been talking to him. When he was doing his moment with the Emperor. You know what I mean? Like she says the same exact stuff. So and he feels like he's met her before. He knows her, or whatever. You know what I mean?
I also like that is the perfect amount of. Like Stranger Things, meddling kids, like that's the perfect introduction. Hey man,
here they are.
Wait, you know who they are? They're here. All right. Hey, look, it's 1, 2, 3, and Sean Connery, and let's go. Like,
all right. So here's what they're going to try to like enact a little like sneak away plan. All right. So the fleets, they're moving, they're orbiting in a sense around Isstvan. So the Eisenstein is able to pull up from high anchor undetected. Their next move will bring suspicion, though. So the master's showing them how far they got to move before they make a jump. It's a good distance, and the dude gives them a 1 in 10 chance of making it. Like, damn,
and I'm being like real generous, like that's
yeah. So the like kind of like the XO in a sense, Vault. She suggests an alternative route, which Nathaniel's like, all right, I like that. Only problem is they have to cross. They're gonna have to cross paths with the Terminus Est, which is Typhon ship. So it's like, okay, well, you can do this way, or we can do this a little crazier way. It's shorter, but we got to walk into the mouth of danger in a sense. You know what I mean? And then we jump to Active Terminus S. So Typhon sits with conflicting emotions. He's elated that the events are happening, obviously, because he's a bad guy. The fact that his long-kept secret and knowledge learned from the word bearers in Erebus could finally be revealed. Okay, so that's a little cool, like little patches there. Okay, so just backstory kind of thing. Mortarion is not a fan of magic, right? That's his shtick, which is funny now because he's a big magical demon moth, right? But just take it for what it is. But and then as you see in other books, Typhon and Mortarion are like, they're not tight. They fight a lot. They are always squabbling. And what it says here is about his secret that he learned from Erebus. So what makes me think is, I think that maybe Typhon was like already turned way before Mortarion got tickled into the idea, because he's been hanging out with Erebus. He apparently likes magic, so I feel that's a good, and that's what he's coming like. I think he was saying that in that little part there. He says he's also frustrated to be in the shadow of newer comers, Mortarion the War Master. So he's already been in the gang. You know what I mean? Like I mean, without spoiling too much, the very first people were the word bearers. They're the first ever, before Horus and all this stuff. Obviously, we see Erebus, and he said, "What? Remember, he was like saying like this plan was like 1,000 years when he was in the tomb. Remember, like 1,000-year fucking."
He was saying like this was 1,000 years in the making.
Yeah. So the word bearers were the first ones to turn to chaos, but they don't see us turning. It's more like that's just that's their gods in a sense. But so it makes it feel like Typhon was probably way back in the day getting linked up with Erebus, and he's just been waiting for Mortarion to catch up. You know what I mean? Because in later books and 40K thing, they're kind of like, not enemies, but like they don't get along. You know what I mean? Like Typhon like tells him to F off and stuff, and he doesn't listen to him and stuff like that. You know what I mean? So it's cool to see it's like an origin of it almost. He says, yeah, it says newcomers, Mortarion and War Master, they have just begun their illumination. So like he's an old hat at this magic chaos stuff. You know what I mean? The time would soon come for him to surpass his father, become a true herald for chaos. So then he turned his thoughts to Grogor, and he's like, man, he's been really quiet. Like, Grogor is usually always chatty, and like, you know, he probably called me the first second he killed Nathaniel, you know. He sees the Eisensein moving, and he's troubled. This gets his spidey sense tingling. He's like, God, get Grogor on the phone right now. You know, something's up, because that thing is not supposed to be, you know, the ship shouldn't be moving. You know what I mean? Back on the Eisenstein, Moss is the comms officer listening to the Terminus S request. He is conflicted by recent events. Is he the only one who can see this madness? So he's like, man, this is fucking crazy, dude. Like, we're gonna get blown up, dude. Like, what's going on? I gotta keep my job. You know what I mean? Like, this is
I got 3 child support payments to make, and if I am late on any of this,
I'm gonna be turned into a servitor.
I'm gonna be sharpening pencils with my teeth for the next 100 years.
Yeah, they were they're supposed to follow orders from the top, which would be the War Master. This stays forward out. Doesn't matter. You know what I mean? Orders are orders. How would he ever get his own ship if he followed these dumb traitors? You know what I mean? Like, you got some technical difficulty.
We're back.
Yes. So just like Jonah, he's like thinking like, how am I ever gonna get my own ship if I'm in with these assholes? You know what I mean? Like, they're ruining everything.
He's so much more like spineless though. Like he's just like a sweaty comms guy, and he's like,
yeah. I'm saying, because the other guy at least was like, you know, he was
enterprising
Titan. You know what I mean? Like, he's badass. Yeah. So he's like, ooh, and he goes, man, maybe the War Master will reward me for my loyalty with my own ship.
Like me,
yeah, I'll get my own ship. So Typhon's hearing this guy like gripe about shit over the fucking comms, and he's like, he starts to figure out what's happened. Grogor has failed, and they got a problem. So he orders his weapons up. He orders the intercept course with the Eisenstein, and he needs to get hold of Malgahurst, you know, because he's gotta, he's gotta like not just handle this, but he's got to get this out, because they got a problem now. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Alarm starts sounding on the Eisenstein, and they're picking up energy spikes from the Terminus Est, and they're all like, shit, he knows, like, we're screwed. So the ship dudes jump into action, ordering automated, what do they call it? General quarters. You know what I mean? Everyone, to your battle stations. You know what I mean? Like, get ready. You know what I mean? And it's, hey, we're moving. We're going. Like, full speed ahead. We're getting out of here. The Terminus S is moving from its orbit, but they are the only one. So right now, it's only, their only one that knows what's up is Terminus S. Sendek fills Kara in on the weapon to Terminus X. If it pulls alongside, we're dead. So he knows the ship very well, and he's telling these people, hey, like, you got to stay away from its broadsides. Decius can't understand how Typhon knows. Nathaniel scans the bridge and sees the pale and sweaty.
He just sees like, that's
the
red shirt number 5.
Yeah, the radio guy, like, and then Nathaniel grips him up by his neck. And then, this guy's screaming, "You're traitors! His allegiance is to the fleet, to the War Master until death." And then Nathaniel says, "Yes," and snaps his fucking neck. I love that. That's why he's like, no fuss, no business, whatever.
Yeah.
Fucking done, dude.
Like, you betrayed the War Master, and he's like, yeah,
I did, yeah, I did. All right. All right, so they the Terminus S starts firing on them. So the first one's a miss, second one's a hit. We get a jump to Malgahurst. He's mad at Typhon for disturbing him during such an important time as blowing up the planet. Like, hey, we're doing cool shit over here, dude. What are you bothering me? It mentions this bad blood between the Sons of Horus and the Death Guard over the years of an old incident when they disagreed over battlefield protocol. That was something they add in there. Like, it was just like,
they need a reason to like kind of have.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, but like, who cares? Like, just say, hey, Mal was mad because he got interrupted. Like, what I mean? Whatever. I just wrote it down. It's kind of funny. All right, so Typhon tells what's going on. He's like kind of cutting up his boss at the same time. You know what I mean? Like, he's like, hey man, so here's what's happening. The Eisensein is trying to break out of orbit, and it's being led by Nathaniel. And I told Mortarion that Nathaniel's a problem, but he's too soft on him. You know what I mean? So he's kind of like get his jabs in where he can, as if that's important information right now.
It's like he's like trying to cover his own ass. He's like, hey, I said.
Yeah, hey, like, it ain't my problem, dude. I told him this guy's an asshole. You know what I mean? But, all right, so they're heading towards like one of the moons, and Typhon's pursuing him. So Nathaniel's getting nervous because as they get closer to the moon, the gravity of the moon is gonna drag him to the moon. You know what I mean? So Kara tells him Vault, like the second in command, she's good to go. So she's kind of like, I don't picture like a steering wheel, you know what I mean, like or a helm, but she's like doing stuff to change course and all, and she's purposely going towards the moon. You know what I mean? They take a few more hits and they start getting closer to the moon. Typhon's ship is also getting pulled, with the moon's gravity, but he don't give a shit. He's like, hey, just keep firing. We jump back to Vault. It's kind of like back and forth. You see the two bridges of the ship as they're like battling back and forth. Vault's sweating. She's hoping her calculations are right, so she did some math, and she's like, I figure, if we can do this and turn, it's going to be good. She glances back, and she sees assurance from her captain and Nathaniel. Her plan is to use the moon's gravity like a slingshot to get away, and it starts to work actually. So Typhon is pissed off. He changes his follow course. He's starting to be grabbed by the moon's gravity, and he's like, "Yeah, get us out of here." You know what I mean? He fires everything in one last ditch effort to try to hit it, and it does hit it. It hits hard. Ship's badly damaged, but they have escaped, and then they slingshot past the moon, and they're heading towards the jump site. So all these systems have I guess technically you can open a warp hole wherever, but there's more, I guess, reliable areas. So they are heading towards that way. Decius is bitching about all this shit, and then Nathaniel gets in his face, but Decius is declaring he is only speaking the truth. He's kind of saying this is crazy, you know what I mean? We're dead and blah blah blah, this stuff, you know what I mean? So as they're getting closer to the jump point, the navigator, remember the navigators, right? The blind, freaky, they're freaking out. So all these ships have it's like a what do you call it? Like a sensory deprivation area where these guys hang out, and there's in pods or laying around, and they're freaking out about the warp. Hey, don't do this. The warp's too crazy. Blah blah. Decius said the suicide, and Nathaniel's heard the rumors of a ship's loss, crazy warp shit going on. He looks over, and who's walking towards him is fucking Levin. Are you Frady? She offers help. Decius what the hell can you do? Vault calls out like, "Hey, our Geller field will not stabilize." And Euphrates says, "They must have faith. Nathaniel, take us in." And then the chapter ends with them jumping into the warp.
I love it. I love it because it's like this guy who has literally probably tried his best to not have these characters in this story till almost the third or fourth act. He's like, yeah, she's just gonna Jesus our way through this one, I guess. Like,
Yeah.
we're gonna go into Lovecraftian hell, and she's just gonna be like, hey man, we'll be good.
So I have and then for the uninformed, I have like some notes on like what a Geller field is. So a Geller field is invented alongside warp travel. It protects the ship from the hostilities of the warp. The device emits a wavelength that makes a bubble of real space around the ship. Imperial Geller fields are made from a psyker kept in hibernation. This has caused the psykers to die way earlier than they normally would. So any decent void ship will have a new psyker battery to take their place.
I like that. It's not it's not getting better protection for the psyker. It's hey, if you're gonna use a lot of it, get a lot of psykers. Yeah,
bring some extras. So the warp is full of warp creatures and all, and if you don't want them getting in your ship, you got to have a field, so a bubble of space around it. So, all right, so chapter 11 starts with the Eisensein dropping into the warp, and this is something I think James Fald is really good. I made notes of it, and I have a couple highlighted when he describes like pretty much like static kind of like just good descriptions of like the environment. So here's a good one. It was impossible for a person of an unaltered mind to comprehend the nature of warp space. The seething, churning ocean of raw non-matter was psychoactive. It was much a product of the psyches of those that looked upon it, as it was a shifting, willful landscape of its own. On ancient Earth, there had been once a philosopher who warned that if a man were to look into an abyss, then he should know that the abyss would also look into the man. In no other place was this as true as it was in the Immaterium. The warp was a mirror for a mirror for the emotions of every living thing, a sea of turbulent thought echoes. The dark dregs of every hidden desire and broken id mixed together in a raw mass of disorder. If one could apply a single word to describe the nature of the warp, that word would be chaos. I think it's a really good description, like for someone who has no idea what that even is.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like, just pretty cool. And he does it a lot. I have a lot of these as part of one of my like highlights of the book is that he does a lot of these good descriptions of like, not saying static things, but like just, here's what the warp is, I think it's pretty good. So
yeah, I mean, I'm a sucker for like ethereal horror, Lovecraftian horror. And so like when you have, I mean, describing something that is beyond perception is like the difficulty of writing like this type of horror. And he's just like, all right, cool. Guess what? We went from Call of Duty Space Marine style to we're now in
But he does it with a lot of things. Like later on, you'll see when he describes the Starfort thing. It's really good the way he describes things. I think it's one of the highlights of this whole book.
I think that he really, he should have, not should have, because he did a great job like making it work with the story. But like he definitely is in his element when it comes to like the feeling of using the warp, using darkness, using the lack of like humanity, and using chaos as like an actual tool to like purvey horror. He just absolutely just sends it.
Yeah, it's cool. All right, just chapter 11, it starts with the Eisensein dropping into the warp. So Nathaniel wants to know like how long until they're safe. He's like, I guess he's not too familiar with this. And the shipmaster Kara's like, it's the warp. We could be on Terra in a day or clear across the galaxy hundreds of years later. It's just so funny. Like, he's like, hey, man, it is what it is, dude. We can come out and, the war's been over for 1,000 years. Who knows? It's the warp, dude. It's crazy. You know what I mean? So Hacker voxes in that they got intruders, which should be expected because they're in the warp and they're Geller field. It's like not, it's not staying up. All right, so Nathaniel and Decius head down and they say, hey, Acton, you're in command. And I was like, come on, man, let the dude get some action, man. Like you got the other guy there. You know what I mean?
Sean Connery is over gonna be on the fucking. I'm gonna try and fuck the prom queen. He's gonna be up there just trying to just hold it down.
All right, so we got Hacker. Hacker is with the navigators and they're fighting warp beasts. Disease horrors rip through tears, stinking and rotting with every touch. So very similar to what we saw on the Moon of Davin. Think that. You know what I mean? Like uh zombie-ish kind of, monstrous atrocities that are ripping through like the fabric of reality. Um Nathaniel and Decius show up to clear them out. Rips what oh there's reports from all over the ship. So these things are, it's bad. It's bad. They're all over the place. A navigator screaming crazy shit. He runs at Nathaniel and impales herself on his sword. If he's standing there, probably just standing there with his sword sticking out, like, man, this is fucking crazy. And she's like, ah. And I was like, oh, you need these people, the navigators. Like, this is how you get around in this place. You can't just let them be killing themselves.
Said the motor of my Honda Civic just jumped off the bridge.
So yeah, Decius' wonder is where if the Gellerfield fails, they'll be overrun. So it's not off. It's kind of like taking longer to solidify in a sense. You know what I mean? So I say Nathaniel here has like a little acid trip. He's seeing his boys rot and decay. Uh, their white armor turned to sickly green. Above them, he sees Mortarion looking super gross. He says, "Come, Nathaniel, we will all know the embrace of the Lord of Decay." So it kind of like just like totally throws you into what they are in the current fiction. You know what I mean? Like their armor is green now. You know what I mean? It's a nasty green color, and that's something that Mortarion would say now. I snaps back out, and the boys are like looking at him like, "What the hell's wrong with you, dude? God damn!" And then Voyan jumps in. And he said, "Hey man, something's happening down here on the gun decks. All right. So I have a thing here. It says page 2. If I highlight it or not, let's see. Yeah, I did. Maybe not. I mean, okay. It's a description of immense intelligence in the warp. So he's kind of describing like you would say like the view from the Chaos God. He sends 10-year-olds to the Eisensein for experimentation. So it's kind of giving you an idea of like this. We're talking about the god is Nurgle. They don't mention it here, but that's what's kind of saying. So outside the ship in the vast distance is like some great intelligence who decides to like let's play with these things. You know what I mean? Like send his tendrils of power to the ship to try some experimentation. You know what I mean? And it's known that the god of decay, whatever, likes to like experiment with diseases and shit like that. So all right, so what happens is in the gunnery decks, the decayed, lifeless bodies are easily molded by the warp touch. Death became fresh life, age and rust caking all the mechanisms. On a long corridor, Death Guard meet Death Guard. Nathaniel Garro is first to see misshapen things in the distance, thinking they were the same as before. Stunned and shocked when he realizes that they are, we realize what they are. And I wrote here, these are the first, like, in canon, or, in this timeline of the series, is the first time you see, like, a heretic Astartes, in a sense. Like, a true, not traitor, like, I'm a bad guy, like, true turned.
What's a Chaos Marine?
Like, yeah, like it's like a true Chaos Marine. You know what I mean? Like not just like Lucius being a asshole when killing people. Like this is actual like touched by chaos powers. And I have a little description here. Garro's blood turned to ice in his veins. The awful vision that seemed to transmit itself from the dying adjutant was suddenly here before him, written in reality over the mutated, swollen parodies of Death Guard warriors. The same corpse pallor green of their battle armor, the same slack faces rippled with growths of broken tooth and horn, flesh stretched tight over bodies teeming with colonies of maggots. Voya had joined Garro and the others at the entrance to the corridor, and even the apothecary, hardened to sights of disease and malady, wretched at the sight of the twisted man things. So yeah, so the medic's throwing up. You know what I mean? Like, geez, this is pretty bad. All right, so ahead of them are like the zombified crew. So we're talking about like zombies, and one of those zombies is, of course, his boy Caleb.
Dude, R.I.P. Caleb. He just wanted to shine the sword one more time.
Yeah, so this is common practice with these guys. Like they'll send waves of like zombies first to draw their fire. You know what I mean? Kind of like cannon fodder. You know what I mean? A hulking monstrosity makes its way towards them, and it winks at Nathaniel. So that's another thing. If you read more of these books, you'll see the gods have like a personality too. And Nurgle's always seen as like he's like cheeky. You know what I mean? He's like funny. there's little tiny demons called Nurglings, and they're like little fat little goblins, and they're like funny. They're like picking their nose and stuff, and they're doing goofy shit. You know what I mean? So this creature like winks at them. You know what I mean? Which it's Grogor. You know what I mean? Like Grogor is like the boss of these guys. So it's like Grogor winking at Garro. You know what I mean? And he asks Garro, do you like my new aspect? Is it pleasing? And a horn sprouts from his brow, and bones pop out his back. So he's just like transforming in front of this guy into some kind of, gross monstrosity. Nathaniel jumps into the fight, but he's troubled by these reanimated brothers. How can this happen? What's going on? The universe has been tearing away with all Nathaniel knows to be true in each passing hour. The fight ensues. Nathaniel noting how tough the bad guys are. So these guys are like, extra tough, beyond normal space marines. Decius is smashing through the zombies with his freaking power fist, smashing up. He's taking it back as one cut in two forms back together. So he like blasts one in half, and then it like whoop, like forms back up. It forms back up because the insects like swarm the wound and like stitch it back together and all. It's just like this the grossest of gross you can imagine. You know what I mean? So he's like slack-jawed staring at that. He's like, whoa. He pays for that because Grogor slices into his arm, causing pain and disease. Decius quickly cuts his own arm off, and then he passes out.
I love it.
Yeah, he's like, that's not good. No, it's like a Walking Dead kind of thing. You know what I mean? Like you get bit, it's like, oh,
you got to cut it off immediately.
Quick. This has Grogor going for the kill shot. But he's knocked off balance. And here comes Nathaniel with his Libertas. Slashes at his fish belly. It gets stuck like quicksand. Nathaniel plunges through and back out, spilling Grogor's his guts, which he attempts to pick up. So he's over there trying to scoop up his own guts. Outside, the Geller field is failing, and Nathaniel knows that there's more monsters are going to be coming. So what he does is he calls up to the bridge to get crews, and he says, hey, get us out. Like, because, it's like a button or whatever, like you drop in and out of the warp, it's not recommended to do abruptly in a sense, you know what I mean? But he's like, hey, we got to do it. Like, this is not working. Vaught protests, but he's like, he has to. Grogor yells in frustration as the ship begins to transition back into real space. Nathaniel watches a shimmering phantom tear from Grogor and dissipate. Nathaniel thinks their souls will be taken back into the warp. So like as they leave real space, or as they leave warp space, it's like their chaos souls, whatever. Like they can't live in real space without like a whole bunch of extra power. You know what I mean? So there's like all the animation is dawn and stuff, and yeah. The damaged ship appears in real space in a dark void. No stars, no planets. They're directionless and just adrift. They're just floating in space.
Sick.
All right, so we jump ahead. Chapter 12. They got like a little makeshift infirmary. So it doesn't say how much time passes, but like some time passes. They had enough to build like a little medic area. All the remains of the enemies were burned for hours, and then jettisoned into space by servitors that Hasker then killed. That's so funny.
It's like
all right, so you got this. They're like just mounds of rotten flesh. They're going to burn it for hours. I don't know why hours, like whatever. Like let them on fire for 4 hours. Okay, cool. All right, and then push them out into space. And then you three helped. Boom, boom, boom.
Send those out into space.
Oh, it's so weird, dude.
I love it. No measures.
Yeah. So, all right, so they're adrift. No one knows where. They don't know how long. They got no navigators. They're all the navigator dead. Sendek and Voy are trying to guesstimate through old star charts. So they're like down to like the bones. They're like rolling the scrolls out. They're like, God damn, dude, like where are we, dude? You know what I mean? Like Nathaniel voices the dismay of the emergency jump that killed the navigators to Voyan. He's silent. Nathaniel is getting pissed off. He's like, well, first Decius doubts me, and now you too. Voyan replies he can only deal with what's in front of him, and it's all pretty bad. He's like, everyone's just like shaking up, man. They're like, they're lost. All their navigators are dead. A bunch of their boys are dead. They just saw this crazy, a monstrosity attack them, and now they're just like drifting nowhere. You know what I mean? Voyan reports all Death Guard wounded by the bad guys are dead, except Decius. So Decius is still hanging on. He says, he thinks Nathaniel should kill him, though. So you give him mercy. And he's like, no way. I'm not doing that. And before they get any further, Cruz approaches. Cruz is being like straight up, like, military dude. Hey, got a muster report. We got 70 dudes. And that's it. And it's, man, 70 out of thousands we had, or no, out of thousands beyond the reach of the War Master's betrayal. He's sad thinking of those left behind and on fleeing. But Acting Cruz kind of reminds him, like, this is our duty. You know what I mean? Like, we are the messenger. This is what we're here to do. You know what I mean? They kind of joke over like which one's older, because they're both like old fogies. And they talk about how time moves different in the warp, and I've been in the warp longer than you, and blah blah blah. You know what I mean? They kind of go back and forth over like why this happened. And Cruz admits that he saw little things that now seem way more important: the lodges, Jubal, the burning of the Interex, the Davin, War Master fell, that and risen by arcane magic. I said, duh, like that's like what are you talking about? Of course, like when your boss was killed and then went to a temple and then came out alive, like, that should have been like, if it didn't already break, that should have been the straw right there. Like, no fucking way, He says, when I spoke up on these things, they thought me an old fool, good for nothing but war stories and mockery. I let them. I took the easy road. Nathaniel mentions faith can be in men as well as gods. You think so? Go below decks and see what is gathered there, a church. So now we realize that, the Stranger Thing gangs are down there spreading their little mojo jojo.
Word.
Yeah. So we jump to the church. Mercedes down there, bring in a couple officers to see Kirill. They want to see the saint. They missed the early sermon, so like they're already down there holding church. You know what I mean? They're down there praying.
I missed the morning service. I'll get the afternoon.
Kirill's like, well, hey, we're not doing a service, but here's a tract. Here's like a little Bible, and they're like, hey, we already got one. Print it on the Eisensein. So like, yeah, this stuff has been like spread. You know what I mean? Kirill's taking it back. Look at what he used to be. An imperial iterator is now shepherding the words of Euphrates Keeler. Mercedes is capturing it all in photos. This new church is not for divine power. If not for the new church, he would be dead on the Evangel Spirit. He's not doubt that the calm authority of Euphrates Keeler leading them to safety. So these guys they're fully. You know what I mean? There's no turning back. They're fully vested. He's Imperial Truth is no longer an option whatsoever for these people. You know what I mean? His Imperial Truth is shattered. They all change after the Whisperheads, but Euphrates the most. The Emperor had gifted her a splinter of his divine power. Kirill's filled with energy from faith. If the Letitia Divinus is on the Eisenstein, perhaps it's other places, not hiding, but just waiting for an icon. Mercedes announces in fear that there's an Astartes. So up at this point, it's still humans. You know what I mean? And they still have, as much as they've been accepted on the Eisenstein, they still have fear of their church at least being discovered by the Astartes, because their experience with Astartes is, and churches is no bueno. You know what I mean? It's not good. So the door opens and it's Nathaniel. He says, "Welcome, Nathaniel. You are the first Astartes to come here." Nathaniel looks around the makeshift chapel. He wants answers. Euphrates steps forward and says that they're going to go talk. So they kind of have a little private one-on-one, like confessional, and it's like Euphrates, she thanks him for saving him. He's grateful for the praise, especially with all the shit that's going down. Nathaniel, they discuss the Imperial Truth. Euphrates shuts it down. He says, "Haven't you felt his spirit upon you?" Nathaniel isn't certain, but Euphrates doesn't believe him. She thinks he's just afraid, afraid of what he's been feeling, afraid of like the little hints that he's been getting. You know what I mean? Nathaniel's torn as all he believes is being taken away. She confesses that she never wanted to be a prophet. Euphrates envies Nathaniel because he has a duty, a clear path to follow. Euphrates claims Nathaniel is the Emperor's warrior and he will find a way through this. back on the bridge, acting as Sendex for a nav update. Still lost. Still screwed. Nothing.
Yeah, we don't know where the fuck we are, dude. I'm so lost.
They come in with a stores update. They got 5 months. I like this one. They have 5 months of food left. More if we put some crew in stasis or just kill some. That's funny. So they're down and out. Nathaniel enters. He's got a purpose now. He says, "Hey, put the warp drives on max power." The ship people are like, "What the fuck? Like, what do you like? We can't go back in the warp." He says, "Nah, chill out, chill out." Well, the shield's up, thruster's ready. No one knows what the hell he's even doing, right? But they're like, all right, he's in command. They got no other options really, right? So his plan is to power up the warp drives and then detach them, like jettison them, and then shoot it. And the explosion will act as like a flare. You know what I mean? Like a flare in real space, but also in the warp
space.
You know what I mean? Yeah, like both. You know what I mean? That's Void's breaking point. He like draws his gun and points it at Nathaniel. And they're having like a staring contest. Nathaniel's not backing down. He says, "Execute my command in 1 minute." Void, movie style, like cocks the hammer back. He's like, "Don't test me. You've driven me to this. Death and death. Brother versus brother. But what if we become corrupted like Rolgar?" Nathaniel says, "We will not. There's no doubt in my mind." And Void says, "Well, how can you know?" And then Nathaniel like takes a gun and he says, "The Emperor protects." And that makes it all better. Don't worry about it. You know?
He just goes, "Have you?" And just like grabs the gun. It's like, "Have you prayed on this?
Let's pray on this one." He hasn't gone that far yet. You know what I mean?
I know.
Well, he has, I think. Like I said, when he went down his knees and was like, "Emperor," you know what I mean? But
he's like, "God help!" And then Euphrates like, "Hey brother, I'm on my way.
Yeah, we're coming."
I like to play an RSVP for the Eisensein.
All right, so 13. It starts with a description of the warp engine scuttling and explosion. Like another one that this guy does. I'm not gonna read it all because it's big, but like it's really descriptive way he describes like what happens when the thing explodes. You know what I mean? Like in good detail. It becomes a shriek, a flash in the immaterium. In real space, a shockwave slams into the Eisenstein. An enhanced mind sees the flash, sees a path, and computes a route. But you don't know who. It just says an enhanced mind. You know what I mean? So that can be a lot of things in this kind of, in this place. Nathaniel's writing down a data slate on the observation deck. They've lost systems. They're becoming a frozen tomb. You know what I mean? So like that blast, plus just they've been losing power, all this stuff. He wants Cruz to witness his last will and testament, but Cruz snorts, says, Death Guard, you guys are so freaking bummed out, man. You should dour." He's like, "You're in here telling me that you want me to hear your last will and testament, but what about you just said on the bridge how this is our plan and it's going to save us? Like, was that just all bullshit?" You know what I mean? Like, he kind of like challenged them. You know what I mean? He said, "No, I'm just being thorough. That's our way." He said, then why hide this? Why hide, why are you here with me doing this?" Nathaniel can't fool him. Cruz states that his story is only half told. Has Nathaniel's saint revealed anything? And he's like, "No, he isn't. She isn't a saint. Most of the crew now are all believers because they ain't got nothing left. You know what I mean? Even some Astartes now are even down there in the chapel. You know what I mean?" Cruz is amazed to see these times where purpose isn't clear. Horus finds it in sorcery, and we find it in divinity. Cruz is with him no matter what. However, he thinks Voyan should be punished for like drawing a gun on him. Nathaniel's not going to do it. He said it was out of fear. It's not malice. Plus, he says, he's our only goddamn medic, dude. Yeah, we need this guy.
Like logistically, I don't want to kill this guy.
Yeah, he said, I'm not losing anyone, and then if we all die, the only thing we're known for is corruption. You know what I mean? Like, they're like the last remnants of like what would be like, loyal Death Guard. You know what I mean? So he's like, I'm not gonna kill my own guys. You know what I mean? Like we got shit bad enough, dude. You know what I mean? And this causes Cruz to look down at his armor, and he feels that it's too late for his legion. He feels like, they're never going to be known for anything else, which is a true statement. You know what I mean? There's like no one left of his legion at all. Nathaniel seals himself in his armor and goes into the isolation area to visit Decius. So Decius is still alive, all junked up, so bad that like he's gonna put his armor on because he doesn't want to get any funk on him. You know what I mean? So it looks bad, wound festering, it won't heal. But Decius is awake. He says, "Why did you save us?" Nathaniel's taken back. He said, "We must never admit defeat." Decius thinks Grogor was right. We are forsaken and alone. What if we are a millennia away? The warning useless. And then Decius passes out. So he's like super. I mean, obviously this guy would be super bummed. I mean, but he got no hope at all. You know what I mean?
I was like, yeah, you're bleeding out and like over the span of weeks on the table. We're like, hey,
yeah, they go into more detail about it later. But yeah, pretty much what's happening is it's kind of like with Horus. You know what I mean? Like the wound is not healing. You know what I mean? But this is even worse because like the infection's like all over his ass. You know what I mean? Like it's not just like that one wound. It's everywhere. You know what I mean? All right, so Nathaniel steps out of the isolation area, and Sendek's like, "Hey, we got ships heading towards us." Nathaniel should be happy, but he's like, "Shit, man!" Like he's like just into like bad news. Like, "Shit, man! Did the War Master find us?" You know what I mean? Like, what's going on? How many ships? They have no idea, and they don't. They have nothing, man. We got nothing. We don't know. Just we know ships are coming. So Nathaniel plans to allow the boarding to see who they are. You know what I mean? So he's like, right, well, we ain't got enough people to defend. We got no guns. We got nothing. We might as well, see who they are. You know what I mean? Hopefully they're friends.
Yeah, we will meet our saviors or our assassins with equal vigor.
So the fleet approaches cautiously, sensors up, weapons ready. Some in the fleet thought a trap. How did a human ship get so lost in space? So Lee's ship is like a moon-sized mace that docks several Eisenstein ships aboard it. So it's a gigantic like space fort in a sense. You know what I mean? Just like floating through space with big enough to put multiple Eisensteins on it. Hacker reports to Nathaniel, all personnel are deep in the ship. So everyone who's alive is like way in the center of the ship, just waiting to see what happens. He looks out and saw a large Imperial-style fleet formed around a huge star fort. Nathaniel walks through the huddled crew. His presence gives some fear, others courage. He's always respected the humans, but now he feels like more of a kinship to the humans. They're all kind of like just, stranded, stuck together. So it's kind of like, yeah. Nathaniel approaches Kara, who admits Astartes like men seek fraternity and spark rivalry with each other. What would they do when their wars are over? Nathaniel thinks of the War Master, and he shudders. Sendek and Hacker call Nathaniel. They're getting a reading on the Auspex. They can't tell what it is. A scan? Nathaniel recognizes what it is. He says, "To arms, they're coming in." So an open area down in this little, whatever, like boiler room kind of thing, starts to hum with green electricity. He knows what it is. Nathaniel's like, "Hey, no one shoot until I tell you to shoot." A big flash. Boom. The open area is filled with 8 Astartes in perfect formation. They order who's in charge and stand down. All the build-up stress pops. Nathaniel tells them to stand down. It's his ship. They board it. Gun barrels drop. A lone figure steps out. And I got a cool little quote here about that lone figure. A severe and uncompromising gaze surveyed the chamber from a grim face framed by a snow-white shock of hair. A face that seemed as hard and unyielding as the mammoth plates of golden-hued brass that made the man. A walking statue. But no, not a man. Like Garro's, the warrior wore a cuirassed tail with eagles spread over his shoulder and across his chest. Upon his shoulder pauldron was a disc of white gold, and layered to that, cut together from sections of blue-black sapphire, was the symbol of a mailed gauntlet, clenched in a defiant threat. Finally, the diamond-hard eyes found Garro and held him. Pardon our intrusion, kinsman. I am Rogel Dorn, master of the 7th Legionis Astartes, Emperor's son and Primarch of the Imperial Fist. I request permission to come aboard, Captain. Perhaps I may be of assistance. So big deal, dude. Dorn, Imperial Fist. Yeah, so for uninitiated, Imperial Fist, it says 7th Legion. They're like, they're yellow. That's their color. They're like, what is it? Like fortification masters.
Love building shit.
Yeah, building shit. And Robo Dorn is their Primarch.
Got a picture of Dorn right there.
Oh, you got the Starfit too. All right, there we go. Yeah, So some images I've seen him have a big
beard,
a mustache usually. I mean, I don't know, but yeah. So that's Robo Dorn. Yeah. So
he probably just thinks. Yeah, and then he'll grow a mustache in 5 minutes.
All right, so yeah, so they're kind of saved in a sense, you know what I mean? Because these are Imperials, you know. So, all right, so now we're aboard that Star Fort. It's called the Phalanx. The Eisensein is blown up.
Yeah, they just fucking blow it up.
Yeah. The Phalanx is the nomadic home of the Imperial Fist. So they don't have a planet. I'm pretty sure. I don't know their backstory too much, but I think they like live on that Star Fort, which is like the size of the planet. You know what I mean? So makes sense. You know what I mean? All right, so we're in a room. We got Nathaniel Garro, we got Dorn, we got Kara from the ship. We have Sigismund, who we met in the first book. Sigismund's like Typhon for Mortarion. You know what I mean? He's like their bet. And we have Yakton Cruz. I like this. He's got Luna Wolves armor on. How'd he get that so fast, man? Like,
I mean, they build shit all the time, man. Isn't Dorn like a forge guy too?
I guess like, you know, I don't think it's like instant. It's probably like, you know, a couple, you know, they probably came aboard, fed them and stuff, and like, hey, get cleaned up. We're gonna have a little meeting.
We're gonna send someone to get your measurements.
Yeah, you know, like they're watching the explosion. Kara looks sad. Nathaniel tried to cheer him up, saying, "Hey, she was a good ship." And then Kara's like, "All right, human, go away." Nathaniel mentions he hopes they can find a ship for Kara. Like, you know, maybe they should have towed the Eisenstein. Dorn's like, no, I can't keep up. It can't keep up. It's useless. It's already lost. We already lost 3 ships to the warp, and we're still no closer to our destination, which is Terra. That's where they're going. So the Imperial Fist are on their way to Terra, and that's like makes Nathaniel very happy. Dorn was to follow the Emperor back. So this is like he's following the Emperor back from what was that place called? Olenor.
Oh shit, yeah.
Yeah. So because so the Big E was going home, didn't tell anyone why, but he wanted Dorn to come back, and I'm pretty sure the reason was to fortify
Terra.
The Terra. Yeah. So he says so they were going back to Terra to build defenses, and I wrote, did Big E know? So like, you know, this guy's supposed to be like all knowing, all powerful. I wonder, does he know what's going to happen?
I mean,
like
you
know what I'm saying? Like,
guys,
so
Big E know about the heresy.
Yeah, like he already knows. So he's like, all right, I'm gonna bring this guy back because he's my fort builder. I know this guy's gonna come for me because that's the way it's, you know, ordained in the stars, whatever. So let's make it a fight. You know what I mean? Because I feel like he would know the outcome then, really, too. You know what I mean? I don't know, but either way. So, so the warp got crazy. They got lost. You know what I mean? So as soon as they left Eleanor, they got all split up. They too were stranded by the warp when they saw the flare. Dorn calls it a bold move. And then Nathaniel says, I had faith. And that like strikes Dorn's, like, he's like, what the fuck did you say? He's like, oh. He doesn't mention anything. I think they make a little note about, like, you know, he like finds it like, because he says later, like, he'll say it again. He's like, oh, you said faith like fucking 3 times, dude. What are you talking about? You know? The flare helped the navigators get a bearing. And so they're good. They're not only they rescue them, but it's good. You know what I mean? Like, it's going to help them get back. You know what I mean? Now, Dorn wants to know, like, what's going on? Stranded. Your ship looks like it was hit by Imperial shit. You know what I mean? Like, what's going on? One of your dudes is like jacked up. You know what I mean? Like, you know, he's like, what's going on here? And Nathaniel's really nervous. Dorn wants the whole story as to decide what to do with them. You know, because he's like, I don't know. You know, they might just be, you know, dropping you off out of space. You know what I mean? We don't know what to do with you. So says Nathaniel takes a deep breath and he begins to tell the entire story, starting at Lupercal's court way back before Isstvan. During his whole story, only one who moves is Dorn. He's slowly pacing. As Nathaniel tells his tale, he stops to ask, how did he know Saul Tarvis was not a rebel, like Lord Commander Eilon said? Dorn replies, faith in my honor, brother. And that's where Dorn says, that word again, faith. Sigismund's getting mad. He's getting all, you know, he's getting pissed. He speaks up. How could the War Master be so blind to the bullshit from Emperor's Children Death Guard? So he's like, these two legions, they're ones are a bunch of pansies, and then you guys are a bunch of weirdos, And then Nathaniel's like, no. He tells him the War Master is Mr. Horus Heresy. He is. And then Dorn like cracks him. He hits him so hard he goes skidding across the floor. he like pops him in his mouth, dude. He's like, what the? He goes, I will not hear any more of this fantasy. So he's like, he ain't having it, dude. Like, no way.
No, the image of just fucking him, just like.
I picture a backhand too, not even like
just doesn't even get the full
dude. Crew steps in like to reinforce, like, hey, you got to hear it. You must want to hear it, because if you didn't want to hear it, you would have killed him. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you could have killed that dude. You know what I mean? But you just smacked the shit out of him. You know what I mean? There's a flash of anger that tell me it all. He wants to know everything. Nathaniel continues the story. Dorn replies that his part about Grolgar borders on primitive ideals of magic, but Nathaniel has no explanation. Dorn yells in anger. He sees Nathaniel as honest enough, but what he says is insanity. Did they hallucinate this in the warp? Is Yaktan Cruz's old ass senility running off? Nathaniel's blood's up. He never thought he wouldn't be believed. So he never, like all this time of going to tell the story, he never once thought like the people would think he's full of shit. You know what I mean? Like, he knows to be true, and he's like, wow, I'm a person of honor. But like, also you gotta look at the other side. It's like, we find you floating in the fucking warp, and all this goofy shit, and then you're gonna tell. I mean, this would sound like crazy to someone. You know what I mean? Totally crazy. Not just like the magic, but like the fact that your best brother, who dad just put in charge, has just turned traitor. Like, are you
betrayed everything you've ever known?
And like I said, as far as we know, these people they think that it's impossible for them to turn traitor. You know what I mean? Like, it's not even feasible. You know what I mean? So Dorn shits right on, because how cheap you must hold your integrity. He should kill him, but that is reserved for his brothers themselves. Nathaniel finds his faith and is surprised by his own words. Nathaniel calls Dorn blind. Blindness only a brother might have. And Dorn erupts, drawing it. He's got like a giant chainsword, like a two-handed chainsword. So two-handed for him would be like fucking, I don't even know, man. Like
size of an apartment building?
Yeah. He draws his chainsword, telling him to get on his knees. And then a voice from across the room yells, "No!" And it's the Scooby-Doo crew, man. It's the Stranger Things. The guards are like, "Oh man, she demanded entry, and she can be really persuasive." I mean,
she rolled a nat 20, so like it's fine.
I have no other way to figure out how it worked, but this doesn't seem like feasible. Like that this lady, because so far she hasn't been doing Jedi mind tricks on anyone, really, has she?
I know. No. Yeah, and then I mean, she pulled this gets a little Marvel universe-esque. Like, she comes in and the guards just like let her in, and then Jackson does a little one-liner that she can be a little persuasive.
Yeah. So all right, and she walks right out the door and says that if you kill Nathaniel, then you really are blind. And he's like, "Who the fuck are you? And she's like, "I'm an ex-iterator turned vessel for the Emperor." Mercedes steps up and tells Dorn she has a proof. So remember, she's got the hard drive in her brain, dude. So yeah, she plugs her head into a projector, which seems so like they got like a sharp, like, they moved the little feet, like.
All right, it's the overhead one. No, it's the overhead with so they got.
Oh yeah. They put her head on it. Like,
I gotta line this up with the roof. Hold on.
Okay, cool. All right, so yeah, anyway, so she plugs her head into her memory coil, and then they're able to, like, and like she says here, she goes, "These are the events from her memory coil, and they can't be altered." Why can't they be altered? They don't got Photoshop in like,
it's a projector, Jason. You can't change a projector.
But okay, so misty glimpses come from the hololive. You see Loken, Ignace Carcasse, Ingmace, Maggard, Mercedes steadies herself. Dorn nods for her to continue. So she's like blink looking each slide. Next slide. Dorn's like, next slide. Next slide.
Next slide.
She shows them the scene at the audience hall in the Vengeful Spirit. She shows them Cruz's fight with Maggard, the attack from Terminus S, pretty much everything. Doran says, "All right, enough." Runs his hand over his face. He says, "Such folly. Is it any wonder I would rebel at the reality of such a mad truth?" All right, Doran tells Sigmund to brief the captains, but no one else. We're not getting this out. We're gonna keep these tight. Doran's got to think. Tell them all to leave and no one to disturb him. Outside the audience hall, Euphrates Keeler cries a single tear. Today we have broken our brother's heart, and nothing will mend it. So
I'm like, if I'm Garro, I'm like, that guy just fucking slapped me, and
you tried to slap the shit out of me.
You did the same thing.
Couldn't you just come in like 5 minutes earlier, lady? You know what I mean? What the hell?
It'd be a little persuasive about 10 minutes ago. It would have been cooler.
All right, so we jump now. So in time's passing now because he's got to think, right? So Nathaniel's walking the halls of the phalanx. It says long galleries, kilometer long galleries, sections made to mimic combat environments. So like, just like like, hey, here's a football field of this planet. Here's a football field of this planet. You know what I mean? Like, by chance, Nathaniel finds himself outside Euphrates' door. That's kind of weird. She opens before he even knocks, invites him in for some tea. With a sigh, he's like, "Oh," because I think he feels like, Jesus Christ, I'm being led. You know what I mean? Like, this is,
No, I know. And then I'm like, oh yeah, like I say the same thing when I end up in front of McDonald's.
Yeah.
Oh no, I've been led here.
They speak of Nathaniel sleeping trouble. He has dreams of the Death Guard on some planet fighting Death Guard and Imperial Fist on some planet fighting a beast similar to what was on the Eisensein. So that's the cover of the book. I mean, I don't like. Is that his dream then? Because it says
nightmare. Yeah.
Death Guard and Imperial Fist on some planet fighting a beast similar to what was on Eisenstein.
Because there's Imperial Fist on the background.
Yeah. He sees a piece of the book. He says that he's read some papers that Caleb had, has a better understanding of what you people believe. And she says, "You people, aren't you one of us?" And he says, "I am a servant of the Imperial truth." Euphrates explains that they're not mutually exclusive. We all bear the burden of the truth. Let us help you. Nathaniel is in command and feels the warning in his burden. The warning is his burden, and he struggles with these new thoughts of faith. We have an excerpt from that. Shit. Garro looked away. "I am only a soldier. I thought I was, but now..." The woman drew closer. "What is it, Nathaniel? Tell me what you believe." "Before he died, my housecarl told me I was the purpose, and at the time I did not understand what he meant. But now I cannot question it. What if Caleb was right? If you were right? Am I the instrument of the Emperor's will? Your prayers say the Emperor protects. Did he protect me so I could fulfill this duty?" Garro spoke faster and faster, his words racing to match the pace of his thoughts. "All the things I've seen and heard, the visions that touch my thoughts, were these to strengthen my resolve? Part of me cries out that this is the highest hubris, and then I look around and see that I have been chosen by him. If that is so, then what manner of being can the Emperor be but a divine one?" He's in. Fully in, dude.
I like how he went into this conversation like, quote, "I'm not like you guys."
Yeah, I'm not like a weirdo like you. Then he's like, "Well, I guess
I just kind of reflect on the divinity and how special and amazing I am, and God chose and but I'm not like you.
All right, so he gets back to his room and he sees the summons from Sigmund. So he hops on a train to a big chamber that like leads into a size of like Lupercal's court. You know what I mean? Like it's like grand and giant. Cruz is there and a bunch of the other captains are there waiting. He points out a few that he knows and jokes how they never smile. So like he's telling you like these guys are like super serious. The Imperial Fists are like not, there's no fun in them. They are extra somber currently. Sigmund told them the news. All right, so Dorn enters. He's in simple robes. He gets down to business. Dorn with Captain Ifrid, Captain Helbrick. Helbrick's like he's still around now. Captain Helbrick. They'll continue on to the Sol system, and they're going to tell the Emperor. Sigismund and the rest will go to Isstvan, consider it hostile territory, assist any loyalist, and learn what's going on. And he says, Sigmund goes, "What are your orders if the War Master has turned?" And Dorn says, "Tell him his brother Rogel will have an answer for it." So he's like trying to like, hey, send a message, tell that, tell Horus, and we're gonna fuck him up. You know what I mean? We get 15. Nathaniel visits Decius in the isolation chamber, and I said, so they took the whole chamber off the Eisensein because they ain't gonna take him out, right? They had to like cut it out, I guess. You know what I mean? And he ain't looking good. He's just, Voyen says that the affection is going airborne. No one can enter. And Decius, so they can't even go with the suits on. Decius is on his own. Voyen gives Nathaniel his knife, apologizes for twice betraying his trust. He deserves censure, which I don't know, it means like, just, like, here, kill me. Is that what he's saying? Like, here's my knife. Like, kill me.
I don't know. And how is he getting the knife to him?
No. He's saying he's giving his knife to Nathaniel, saying, "Hey, man, I betrayed you. I deserve censure." And censure doesn't mean death, but is that what he's implying?
Yeah, he's like, "Hey, dude, I
fucked up."
I pictured this. He's, "Hey, man, I fucked up. All right, do whatever you think's right.
Yeah,
put me down.
He says, "No, what you did was out of fear, not malice. You're all right." He says, "Believe in the Emperor, have no fear." Handing Voyen Caleb's prayer papers, and I was like, "Do you have a second to talk about your our Savior, Lord Jesus Christ?" So he's become like an apostle in a sense. You know what I mean? He's handed his papers to his boys. Like, "Hey, this helped me out, man."
Dude, if I'm blown up from an IED and you let some, no offense, but Mormon missionaries in to talk to me while I'm just sleeping, I'm going to
No, this is the medic.
Oh yeah. I was like, because like, leave me be, bro. Leave me be.
Oh yeah, no one's like, he's out. No one's messing with this guy. This poor guy's by himself. All right, so the phalanx breaks warp out to the soul system, and it's coming in hot, moving. Nathaniel's in Dorm's chambers. It overlooks the ship's bridge, so it looks like a stadium. It's a hollow at 40 feet tall. So yeah, picture like this, like his little lookout area is like over like similar to what we talked about before was the Galactic Senate. You know what I mean? Something like that.
Yeah.
Just work consoles and plugged in, but it's just gargantuan. Dorn reveals a black ship has been escorting them, asking about both of them. Asks about Nathaniel and Euphrates, and he wants to know why. He's like, "What the fuck's going on?" Dorn thinks that Euphrates is a psyker. Is that so? And Nathaniel says, no, he's not. She has felt the Emperor's touch more keenly than anyone. Dorn's not concerned. Euphrates and the crew will be turned over to Sister Amandaria when they reach Luna. Nathaniel and crew's protest called in Helbert to like get in their shit. Like, "Hey man, shut the fuck up, dude. Like, we're gonna do what you tell you to do." You know what I mean? Dorn reminds them that Death Guard and Sons of Horus are traitors, and so will all the brothers in the service be declared. Nathaniel and Cruz are shocked, because they're like, "Hey man, like we're good, right? We're on your
like, bro, we did all this, and this is where we're going."
Yeah, and Dorn's like, "Well, hey, that's what some people have been saying, and that's why we're going to anchor at Luna and not at Terra. He must consider all possibilities until he knows the truth from an Imperial fist." So like, he's not necessarily saying that they're lying totally, but he ain't gonna make a decision until he hears back from his boy. You know what I mean? Like, he's like, "I believe you enough. I saw the slideshow.
I got your PowerPoint.
Yeah,
I saw it. I'm not too sold yet."
And then Helbrick snapped it like, "Yeah, what if you guys are here to assassinate the Emperor?" And then Nathaniel's getting mad as hell, dude. Like, how would we do that? And he's like, "Maybe by bringing a psyker or a brother with a weird disease to Terra." Nathaniel draws his sword, hilt to Dorn. He's like, "If I'm lying, I'm dying, dude."
Kill me, dude. Just kill me. I'm over it.
Dorn tells him to chill the hell out, man. Him and the survivors are to be secured at Somnus Citadel on Luna. The Emperor will decide their fate, and that's where they're going. They're not going to Terra. You know what I mean? They're going to the moon. So, Luna in these days is the largest man-made military complex. It's honeycomb with tunnels where ships were built and maintained. It's ringed white chunks of metallic platforms for weapons batteries. Earth's cold stone heart. So yeah, so like the moon is like hollowed out, honeycomb hollowed out, and then it's like surrounded by like a ring, Saturn's kind of ring style of like defensive platform in a sense. So it's a shipyard. It's like a shipyard.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's pretty cool. As the satellite passes from Phalanx to Luna, Nathaniel looked at his home world. How long had it been? Thoughts of the places: the Red Mountain, Libria Ultima, Petitioner City, the Imperial Palace. The whole trip here felt like weeks, but in real time, double that time has passed since Isstvan 3. So months, right? Weeks, months, yeah, like about a month to Isstvan 3. All right, so shuttles dip towards the Sea of Crisis, where the Silent Sisters Citadel waited. So the Silent Sisters, yeah, they're like based out of Luna, pretty much. They're like on the moon. Hacker's wondering, like, are they prisoners? And Nathaniel's like, no. He doesn't have much conviction in what he's saying. You know?
He's like, not.
Yeah, not really. He says, well, Hacker points out, we got these Imperial Fist escorts along for the ride. Helbrick says they're landing, gets them to sit down, and Hacker's like, I want to stand. You know, he's like trying to get like lippy, you know what I mean? And Nathaniel's like, hey man, just calm down, dude. And Helbrick's like, hey man, are all your boys like such a pain in the ass, you know? He's like, of course, we're Death Guard. It's in our nature. And it's like, it's just goofy. All right, the ship lands. Nathaniel's first off, knowing it will piss Helbrick off. So he's like, I'm gonna get out of here first. Like, I'm in charge, you know what I mean? The sisters await him. Nathaniel notices the group of sisters have various differing kind of armor, similar different legions. So like, yeah, so the sisters also have like schools, we'll say, or classes or whatever.
Yeah.
They all like have different specialties. You know what I mean? All right, so they're greeted by the same novice that they met way back on the Jorgel thing. Nathaniel salutes, thanking her. Helbrick talks to Nathaniel, hoping that he doesn't think ill of the Imperial Fist or Dorn if his honor is injured for these measures of security, and it's worth it. Nathaniel stares at Helbrick. My honor is all I have left, and he turns away. So he's pissed off, you know what I mean? But you got to look at it from their side, you know what I mean? Like,
you're spouting some
yeah. And then like a person like Dorn, he's like very cautious. So, you know, like, he's not throwing you out in space. He's like, hey man, I'll go tell, or we'll go tell what's going on. You guys just fucking chill back here in case that guy's a disease bomb, or you got some fighters. You know what I mean? So, all right, so the others arrive. The Bubble Boy's taken away. Nathaniel remembers the Jorgel child and tells them to treat Decius with respect. A final shuttle arrives, and Kendall is escorting the humans out. So Mercedes and Kirill, they look scared, but Euphrates, you know, she's just aloof, man. She's just like, yeah,
she's just happy to be here, man. She's in touch with Earth.
Yeah. A group of sisters rush and surround her. Nathaniel and Cruz try to step up, but Euphrates says, no, it's okay. We'll be fine. Euphrates looks to Nathaniel and says, don't be afraid. The Emperor protects. Nathaniel can't shake the feeling that he will never see them again, but we will.
Don't worry.
Unfortunately, they don't go anywhere.
We will.
All right, so Kendall's like kind of mugging Nathaniel. He says him and the boys are guests, and they want him to act with honor and respect. And Nathaniel gives his words. Like, they don't want no fucking problems, man. We're going to go torture these humans. We don't want no fucking problems from you. So they're essentially like in prison. You know what I mean? The moon has no atmosphere. You know what I mean? So it's like an empty void outside. There's nowhere to go. And they kind of just sit around and they like wonder, like, you know, what the hell is gonna, you know what I mean? Like, what are they gonna do? He knows he can escape. They can't stop him. You know what I mean? Like, him and his boys could easily just like wipe these chicks out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But Dorn was a genius getting them off the Phalanx, where tensions between the Imperial Fist and Death Guard were getting like crazy. You know what I mean? Like, they were going to end up fighting each other. So they said, all right. Which is so funny because it's like, all right, so they're not supposed to be able to turn on each other, but just being on a ship together for like 2 weeks, they're gonna now maybe like they say, like, you know, tensions, they were gonna like have a fist fight. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, you know, I don't know, but. All right, so yeah, he's smart because he knows that they know Kendall, so they put him with Kendall. They're kind of like cool mates. I mean, they wonder if they'll be left here. You know what I mean? Like, maybe they'll leave us here and like just don't even worry about it.
Which
you know what I mean?
they do that stuff, man. That's
yeah, well,
thing.
They mentioned, like, you know, they're essentially immortal, so they could just sit on this fucking moon base for the wrestler, just forever. You know what I mean? Sleep brings nightmares, made Nathaniel realize a hidden war was ongoing, not for territory or power, but for souls. So now we have like a little internal monologue of Decius for the first time since he got knocked out. He's in tremendous pain. His body is unable to fight the unnatural virus. And I have this cool excerpt. The wound grew to become a fanged maul that chewed upon him, biting and drawing his essence from the Death Guard's body. Where Grolger's plague knife had sunk through his armor into his flesh, Decius was invaded by a virus that was all viruses. A malady that was every disease that man had encountered and more that it had yet to face. There was no cure. How could there be? The germs were made from the living distillate of corruption in its rawest form, a writhing pattern of trifold and eight-pointed microbes that disintegrated everything they came into contact with. These invisible weapons were the foot soldiers of the Great Destroyer, each of them stamped with the indelible mark of the Lord of Decay. So yeah, he's fucked.
I was like, bro, you're done.
He wishes only for death. He's praying for death. And then a soft voice answers him. A voice appeals to him, tells him his brothers left him in this jar. He's always strived to be the best, but for what? Through his pain, it became clear. He was unfocused, clouded by Nathaniel. Nathaniel has lost his killer instinct. The War Master, that's a true warrior. Able to turn Primarchs, his Primarch, to his banner. The voice asked if he wanted death or a new life, where he cannot be made vulnerable. Decius accepts it. He says, "So I will," says the voice. Decius begins to transform. So they mention like chitinous plates. His fingers swell in the claws. His eyes bulge. Opens its mouth and roars. Thousands of insects fly out. The Lord of Flies rises up, shattering the armor glass, and goes looking for something to kill.
It's a very easy image to picture too. Like, he's just a big green monster.
Well, no, what's funny is, hold on, I'll find it right now because I had a picture because I thought that, right? Here it is. Okay, let me save it real quick. Okay, so I thought that too. I thought that he was like gigantic, right? Like in my head, I thought like, oh, this guy's like, a like on the cover, like the great whatever, great unclean one thing. But actually, I think he is supposed to be later on. They'll talk about him and fighting with Nathaniel. I think he's supposed to be like, here we go, right there.
Oh, nice.
So he's still like Astartes size. You know what I mean? Because later on, when he fights with Nathaniel, you'll see like the size relation is like similar in a sense. You know what I mean? I mean, he's probably like bigger proportions, but not like I thought like 30 foot tall, 50 foot tall. You know what I mean? Like gargantuan. You know what I mean? But all right, so chapter 16. So Sendex is going to an infirmary. He dislikes the smells produced from the metal flowers used by the sisters as a way of marking quadrants. It's kind of cool. So like the different sisters have like these like little smell things that like this is my area, this is your area, kind of thing.
Couldn't use a fucking sign.
Yeah. Today the scent was off. Something was sweeter in the air. So the Death Guard had been bored, so they've been kind of like setting up like a watch bill to just hang out outside Decius's like tube. You know what I mean? Like, he was heading there, and this as he's going, the smell becomes stronger. And he's like, man, it's weird because Iega, one of the guys, the first time you really hear of him, he was turning over, and he's like, he was late, and that's like, that's unheard of. You know what I'm saying? Now he starts smelling blood. He breaks out running, seeing how the red emergency lights were not emergency lights. They're actually lights that were covered in blood.
Oh, God.
His feet are sticky wet. Everything was thick with blood. He sees a severed arm, and he goes for his gun. The walls shake, and the sound of wings fills his ear. He sees that the glass capsule is shattered and is covered in guts. He attempts to call his buddies, but he's thrown into a cabinet. He gets up to grab the nearest weapon and lunges forward to strike, and his wing sounds are intensifying. He sees a bloated fly body with too many eyes, but he recognizes a familiar shape. Solon? Not anymore. The Lord of Flies claws and smashes his head, turns his head off, or tears his head off. So yeah, this thing's broken out, and it's hell bent on revenge, and it's smacking him up. Nathaniel like jumps up and he hears Euphrates call him. He startles and he almost falls over. Like the boy's got to help him. He knows something's up. At that moment, Hackor enters looking concerned. He says, "Hey, Sendex like tried to send us something, but it never went through. Something's up." He tells Hackor to get Cruz and some boys, and we're going down to where Sendek was, which is down in the infirmary. He's wondering. He's like what he's wondering is like, have the sisters turned on us? You know what I mean? Like like what's going on here? You know, he doesn't know. Nathaniel, Cruz, Hacker hear gunfire as they ride the lift and smell new death when they reach the infirmary. All right, so in the infirmary they find guts and remains of Sendek. Looks like he's been dead for weeks. So he just died, but he's already decomposing,
rotten, decomposed.
Yeah. This is kind of cool. Cruz gets real close to the body, and he gets like a face full of beetles. Like beetles jump out from the body and jump all over him. Inside the isolation chamber, they see a thin skin mask of a face, like snake skin. They hear more gunfire. They draw their attention. They move on. As they're moving, many patients are dead from various maladies. Whole place resembles a slaughterhouse. So like this whole medic area, like this thing's moving through, and it's just like wafting disease.
And disease.
Yeah. They move in further and see a silent sister dead, skin covered in tiny scratches and killed by a talon through the chest. Cruz wonders what creature has claws like that. In the next room, they find out. They come out like on a landing port. Sisters are fighting a swirling mass of claws and green-black armor. The whole area is covered in a bunch of flies. The boys rush into the swarm. Nathaniel is bashed by a sister. He helps her up and sees that it's Kendall. He tells her to block the exits and let him deal with the mutant. So like, hey, you guys, you girls can't handle this. It's very, very
Wow, Garro, come on.
Yeah, come on, Garro, dude. Don't mansplain everything to her.
It's gonna mansplain this monster really quick. I don't think you understand.
Yeah. We can handle this mutant. He's kind of relieved that it wasn't a betrayal. He's like, part of him's kind of happy, like, oh, good, it's only a monster,
Thank God.
And he he already knows what he's gonna find at the center. Like he has that feeling. He knows exactly what this is. A mocking chorus from everywhere calls him. So it's like these flies through their wings are able to talk to him. Captain, look, I am healed. He looked at the figure of despair and has a memory of him as an aspirant on Barbarous, raw steel, ready to be tempered into a keen blade. So like this kind of makes it sound like that at one point Nathaniel was a Bud's instructor.
Like he was the one teaching.
He was showing Decius, because he says here that he remembers Decius as an aspirant. So that's kind of cool. He says, why did you give yourself to this abomination? The Lord of Flies says, I am the future of what the Death Guard has become, undying living avatars of decay. He tells him he could have given mercy to Decius, but he foolishly thought his master would save him. He snaps back, holding Caleb's icon. So now, we didn't mention it, but yeah, like Caleb had this like necklace, like like a cross, but I think it's like
crucifix.
Yeah, I don't know if it's an eagle or an eye or something, but it's So and now Nathaniel's got it. It's like his holy, sigil kind of. He tells him, now, if you hold on, if you could give your spirit to the God Emperor, and the Lord of Flies says, God, I know God. The power that remade Decius, that is God, not your hollow golden idol. Blasphemy, he yells, attacking but getting parried. The Death Guard are already dead. It has been ordained. Nathaniel answers with a massive hit cutting into the chitinous shell. So they're going back and forth. You know what I mean? He hits them. The flies heal the wound. You know what I mean? So it's like they're going back and forth. And he said he can't. He knows he can't keep this up, so he's got to think of something. And he knew that only he could keep up any other. He knows I'm the baddest dude around. Only I can even do this so long. You know what I mean? So he feints an attack and slices the support rails, sending both through the air, crashing onto the open deck below. So there's multiple decks of landing pads. Now they go flying through the air into one, who knows, 100 feet down. You know what I mean? With the swarm following close behind. Back and forth. The Lord of Flies smashes his metal leg. Nathaniel punches chunks out of his face. He sees a hatch going outside into the atmosphere, well, into the vacuum. He looks up to the sisters and calls for Kendall to open the hatch. So she hits it, boom, the alarms start ringing, the door. The Lord of Flies yells, "I was right, Garro. I see the future. In 10,000 years, the galaxy will burn." So,
Jeez, a little on the nose.
So the gate opens, snatching anything loose out into the void. The swarm is sucked out. The Lord of Fly flails, reaching out for Nathaniel's boots, scouring the ceramite. A cargo pod slams into him, and him and the Lord of Flies go tumbling out into the white sands of Luna. So he's kind of like smashed on the ground. His little like alarm things in his eyes are like ringing. His stute. He rises with look, yeah. Check your right tire, please. He rises with a sharp pain in his shoulder. He tabs a restorative pill from his auto narcosia dispenser in his neck ring. I think that was kind of cool. He's like, "Oh, Percocet." He grabs his wrist and yanks his dislocated shoulder back in place. So like straight up like you ever see Lethal Weapon?
Yes.
Mel Gibson. He's like, and he smashes it in place. He looks around. He sees his sword. He goes to grab it. Now he's doing like the moonwalk. Like low grab. He's kind of like like boom, boom, boom. And he sees no sign of the Lord of Flies. Something on his boot crunches. He looks down and sees a bunch of crystallized bugs. So that swarm is out there, and they got whatever, frozen. Nathaniel, a warning brushes his mind, but it wasn't enough. The enemy bursts from the dust, gripping him by the neck. They fist fight, bang, bang, bang. Nathaniel wondering how the Lord of the Flies can survive in this void, because he ain't got no spacesuit on, you know what I mean? But it's like, come on, dude, he's a fucking demon, you know what I mean? Like, easy. His suit's leaking air. The creature has him pinned against a crater, cutting into his armor. He thinks this is fitting. His legion destroyed, his message delivered, and what else has he got to do? He's done. You know what I mean?
Yeah, he's like, I'm honestly, I win. Like, I'm done.
And then here's another of his Rocky inspired moments. It says faith. The word exploded inside him. But from where? Keeler? Have faith, Nathaniel. You are of purpose. He grabs a rock and smashes that motherfucker in his head.
He goes, no, he goes, have faith. You're of purpose. And he goes, I am of purpose.
And I have a little extra here. He says, Garro threw himself forward and clasped at his fallen sword. The chain of Caleb's icon was snagged around the hilt, and he caught the brass links in his fingers, dragging the weapon into his grip. Then Libertas was in his hands, and he felt a surge of power from the mere act of holding it once more. He felt complete. He felt right. Garro had told Caleb of the weapon's origin, and now as the globe of terror became visible at the lunar horizon, the blade made all of his doubts and pains vanish. With a sword in his hand and a god emperor at his back, the Death Guard realized that his duty was far from over. He would not die today. Nathaniel Garro was of purpose. So inspirational, man.
It's just like, oh, God. Yep. All right, cool.
And then he lops off his head.
Yep.
Yeah, easy day. Easy.
We'll see how this goes. I don't know if I can win this battle. Oh, okay.
All right, the body tumbled away, breaking into tiny fragments. The head dropped and twitched in unknown laughter. A twist of smoky energy burst into the sky, and Nathaniel thought, you cannot kill decay. And then I have it here, like how demons work. So like they, what is that? Where I have it here? Okay, I don't have it. I can do it. All right, so the way they kind of work, remember how earlier, like when they were in the warp, and then when they left the warp, they all like dissipated, right? So they can manifest in real space, but it like takes a lot of like power, we'll say. You know what I mean? So by cutting his head off, he doesn't kill that creature technically. It just goes back
to the warp.
Only certain things, like the Emperor has powers. Certain things can like permanently banish him. But that's like the plot armor for like demons and all. It's like, yeah, you can kill him, but all he does is go back to the warp, and then he has to wait in like warp hell until he's like enough power to come back. You know what I mean? So Nathaniel says, we will see about the can't killer decay. Taking in the earth, rise. He gives aside the Aquila towards Terra. I am ready, Lord. No doubts, no fears, only faith. Tell me your will, and thy will be done. Very,
Damn,
very,
very.
very
I was
Catholic.
gonna say, oh, okay, so the Emperor's Catholic. Got it.
All right, battle's over. Kind of closing up here. The sisters come to retrieve Nathaniel in his meditation cell. He's full zealot. He's in there chanting. He's holding his icons. He's a warrior monk now. Yeah, he's like a straight warrior monk. He's taken to the top spire. Cruz is there and Kendall. Nathaniel wants to know why he is summoned. I have ordered it. A voice from the shadows. A custode approaches. Custodian, sorry. Golden armor with infinity of worked etching. So on their armor, their names like really long. And then as they do more deeds, their names become longer and longer. And it's like etched across all their armor. That's how, like, it's just kind of crazy. All right, so with him, a man in normal robes, a man that would blend in any hive city, but for the golden staff, atop an eagle and a bay of flames. Malcador the Sigillite. That's like number 2, baby. That's like straight up number 2 of the hierarchy there. And I have notes in it. So Malcador is a powerful psyker and close advisor to the Emperor, as well as the founder of the Administratum of Terra. According to him, he is 6,700 years old.
I like that, though. According to him.
He met the Emperor when he was a warlord and recommended his title. His first appearance in Imperial records is during the Unification Wars as an advisor. So yeah, so the kind of lore behind him is like he's super powerful psyker who can live forever or very long time, and he's been like the right-hand man forever. But he's very unassuming. He's just like a normal dude. You know what I mean? He's not like buff. He's not tall. He's a normal-looking dude. This was the rod only held by one man, the Regent of Terra himself, first of council, overseer of the tithe, confidant of the Emperor. The sisters back away. They're afraid to be so close to him because he's fucking like their null stuff. Doesn't get out of here. The Regent's vision was a spotlight on Nathaniel, sifting through his spirit. The Emperor protects in many ways you cannot comprehend. So Malcador tells Nathaniel that he will not go to Terra, so Terra has come to him. He has heard and seen the evidence. Consider the message delivered. The Emperor is indisposed. And it's like, oh, damn, dude. Like what's more important than this? I know. I don't want to give it away.
His art project.
His art, yeah. But he's like indisposed. I don't understand. And Malcador's like, no, you don't. In time, these matters will become clear. Now your obligation is complete. He's like, you sent your message. Now shut up. Cruz looks at the custode. Is that why he is here? Are we to be dealt with? Malcador admits some on the council suggested that, but no, they are not. Nathaniel demands a purpose. Refuse to sit here while War Master is attacking. Dorn is on it, coming battle like you have never seen. Nathaniel wants to know, what is our role? Then he has a little excerpt here. Tells him what's going on. Malcador inclined his head in a tiny gesture. There is a matter to which you will be set, not today, perhaps not for many months, but eventually. The Ward Master's disposition has made it clear that the Imperium requires men and women of inquisitive nature, hunters who might seek the witch, the traitor, the mutant, the Xenos. Warriors like you, Nathaniel Garro, Yakdon Cruz, Amendera Kendall, who can root out the taint of any future treachery, a duty to vigilance. And that's kind of like the birthplace of like the Inquisition.
Yeah,
kind of.
Yeah.
I mean, so yeah, I mean, like there's something called Knights Errant, and that's like what Garro becomes, like loyal traitor people, like traitor legions, loyal. They become like Knights Errant, but what he's mentioning is the Xenos, the mutant, the witch. That's what the Inquisitors do. Yeah, like way later. You know what I mean? All right, so wrap it up here. Nathaniel goes to see Voyan. He's looking all melancholy. He says that reading the book opened his eyes, that he was his shameful ways of being in the lodge, and he got to atone for it. He actually relinquishes his honor as a Death Guard, and he's going to stay here on the moon. Or so he's going to go to Terra and be part of the Apothecary Majoris. He will dedicate his life to finding a cure to the malady. That they shake hands and part ways. So simple as that, dude. I'm not a Death Guard anymore.
So I'm gonna go dedicate my life to the church of medicine.
Yeah, Church of Medicine. You Keeler come to see him, and he's surprised that she's good. Like he figured like they fucking dissected her brain.
Yeah, like, oh, that lady's super Jesus freak. We gotta.
He wants to know if it was her that warned him all those times with Decius. And Euphrates asks, "What do you believe?" Never a straight answer, this lady. Never like, yep, I was like doing my mind thing, and no, just like she's always vague. You know what I mean? She believes they have a bond, past and future. The Emperor and his sons, but like all bonds, it must be tested to stay strong. They look out the window at terror together, and they pray. And that's it.
The end. They lived happily ever after.
Yeah. So, all right. So, closing. What do you got? Score out of 10.
Score out of 10. I would say, honestly, a 6. I'd give it a 6 only because it's almost like a really cheesy action movie, like Starship Troopers vibes. I like it because I like it, but I don't think it's an exceptionally good book. But I mean, I've read this book twice already, and I loved it.
Yeah, I said 5.5, so like a little above average. Not as good as the third book. Third book was a great action book, you know what I mean? But it's also like it's hard too because the third book didn't need to but didn't need to build any kind of character building whatsoever. You know what I'm saying? Like, I already had 2 books to learn all these people. I know who I like, I know who I don't like, I know their temperaments and all. So this one was kind of hard because it's like a standalone book, but you have to incorporate all these things that have already been done. So it's kind of hard, you know what I mean? Like, and that's why I can kind of see like a lot of these that they branch off because you can still tell the story like I'm not sure what the next book is, but like all right, there's a book about the Mechanicum, right? And it can be standing alone, but still give little droplets of the big story without have this book had to be standalone, but also follow the same arc as the other story and try to jam all. I mean, because think about it, there's like all these characters that you didn't know nothing about, you know what I mean? And they're trying to flesh them out, but it's hard because they're only going to be around for one book, or they might not be seen again for a long time, you know what I mean? But you, as a writer, want the reader to care about them, you know what I mean?
So, and he did a great job. I mean, like the first half of the book. I mean, I think that's why it's only like a 6 because he had to lay so much exposition, for creating these characters, linking it up to the main storyline. You're also trying to give a fuck about these people. Like it's not just like why do I like this person? I think Garro is if like Loken's like a main character over there. This guy's like Captain America. Like he's just always gonna do the right thing. He's way more but like he has the plot armor. He has the intuition.
Yeah, I mean, he jumped. I mean, like I said, rightfully so because they had to do it, but he jumps in like quick. You know what I mean? Like he's praying pretty soon. He's getting the messages from Euphrates where like the other characters like had more time. Well, actually, like I guess no one. This is the first one to really like turn towards the religion super hard. You know what I mean? So, but all right. So favorite character, but it can't be Garro.
Oh, yeah, Voyan. Like absolutely. Because I mean, like whole time he's like, I'm with you, brother. I'm all the way with you. Like hey, like this is weird. I don't really know about all this. I kind of have an idea that something fishy's going on to the point where I'll still back you up. But like, if Voyan didn't back up Garro this wouldn't have happened. And also like, he only faltered when they were freezing to death in space, and I was like,
well, wait, he pulls the gun on them when they're about to do the warp jump, so he's like,
and that's fine. Yeah, I'm like, he just wants answers. He didn't stop him either. He could have shot him.
Yeah, he could have shot him. I picked Cruz because I think he finally got like a little bit of a. He got like a little bit of a like retro. Like people started listening to him. He was a more important character here. I didn't go into every detail of the battle scenes, but he had some fights and all. So like
he did have some good fights finally.
He got used finally. You know what I mean? Everyone else is kind of clown on him, and now he's like, now like now being old is cool because this guy's old and he's down, and everyone listens to him and all. So I think I like Cruz. I mean, and it was kind of hard because I said like the other guys, Voyan kind of had some character, but the other guys really didn't have a whole lot.
Yeah, there wasn't.
Yeah, you know what I mean. So
Honorable mention to the comms officer who was like, "I'm gonna get my own ship," because like absolutely derails everyone's plan to escape, and
yeah,
and
yeah,
and just like
yeah,
100%.
almost lost it. You know what I mean? Like almost like lost the whole thing. Yeah. So
He just
the good points I like. So I got here is this is the first insight into another legion. That was kind of cool. You know what I mean? Because before this, we've been following the Sons of Horus, little sprinkles of uh Emperor's Children, but this is the first, like look at a, whole look at another legion. That was cool. Um, I thought it was cool how like I like how they wrote how like a small ragtag group of people can like come together and make a big
yeah
change. I mean, um, and then I like it shows the development of the church now because now it has Astartes members. You know what I mean? I thought it was cool. I don't know exactly. I don't remember if I read any more about Keeler, but like I'm surprised she wasn't condemned or anything. You know what I mean? Like she wasn't like dissected or killed. Kinda, because it's weird because like she's probably not hiding any of that stuff, and these sisters are probably like, oh shit, like we know the emperor pretty close, and he kind of is like a god, I guess. So all right,
yeah she's very persuasive, Jason.
and then yeah, she can be kind of persuasive. And then I wrote here like how he writes amazing descriptions. So like the warp, um, I read that excerpt, but he had another one like scuttling of the warp engines was really good. The rescue fleets were described super cool. When the phalanx destroys the Eisenstein, it's very descriptive. When the phalanx rise the soul system, like I said, if you read the book yourself, he has like multiple paragraphs on these like not benign things, but like like things that like they could be described as like, oh, the fucking warp opened and the phalanx came through and they were near Terra. You know what I mean? But he does these like really long descriptions, but I thought were really good. I mean, like a really strength to the book was those descriptions. What do you think that was good? What did you like?
Good, I would say. God, I think okay. So action's actually pretty good when he does the action. Really, really good, and he did exceptionally good on what you talked about descriptions like ethereal, uh, just these describing the undescribable. Impressive. I really like that. I like the characters in the sense that he does a good job of scaling it down. I think this is very refreshing. You're not meeting a million new characters. You're not leading a legion to this legion's getting introduced and the guys from over here and over there. It's like, no, you got the 7 dudes from Death Guard and you're going to meet some Iron Fists and that's it. You're good. You already met everyone else. It's a very fresh start. So the scale is small. The story feels like it's always moving forward. Even when the exposition, you're like, okay, I see where this is going somewhere. That was awesome. But yeah, I think that's probably like the last of the strengths that I like.
Yeah, then I have the weaknesses or the bad. Like I said, like I wrote, I would like some more character detail, but I said it might not be the book's fault because we're coming off of like 3 books worth of other characters, but I don't know, it could have been a little longer and maybe like draw out a couple more scenes. I think like I also like, you have to come from a understanding that these guys, the traitor ones, they're already bad guys. You know what I'm saying? Like when you read the book as standalone, so you're thinking like, man, that was fast. You know what I mean? But they're already in it. You know what I mean? Like it mentioned Typhon talking about how he was illuminated so long ago and all. So I said I don't think it's not the book or the author's fault so much, but it was just hard coming from 3 books worth of character development into 1 book of trying to get your characters fleshed out. And then I think they could have added like when they're in the warp, they could have added like cooler, maybe 1 or 2 more cooler fight scenes describing some monstrosities. I thought that would have been cool. You know what I mean? Like, cause
Yeah, the warp entities were minimal when like the
you're right.
Geller field flashing and like creatures sneaking in, like that's awesome. And it was awesome, but like it wasn't a lot. You didn't get a whole lot of it.
Yeah. All right. What do you got? You got anything for weaknesses?
Honestly, like the weaknesses was just the Marvel-esque moments, like Captain America Garro, which it's great. I love it. I love him. Great character, super fun. I mean, the dude gets his leg blown off, and he's like, "I'll talk to these guys about get me in the field." Uh, little quirky one-liners aren't my favorite, and he did throw a few too many of those in. Even though like it's cheesy, it's like we're reading multi-dimensional sci-fi book about space marines. I get it, but not my favorite in terms of writing style. But that was it. I mean, like that's that for someone who had to make a standalone book off of a trilogy that is also spread out over 60 other books. He did a really good job. Some of his writing choices creatively aren't my favorite, but that's okay. I mean, like it's not going to break the book for me. Frankly, this is one of my favorite standalone books because there's a lot of duds out there. And this one does hold up pretty well, especially the second time reading it. I was like, you know what? I actually enjoy reading this. This is fun. This was pretty fun.
All right, well, that'll be it for this one. Up next, we got Fulgrim, where
These
things,
pansy boys.
yeah. Well, I said Fulgrim, where things get X-rated.
Yeah.
All right, well,
it's the freak off.
Yeah. Well, thanks for tuning in. So today's the 31st. I've been traveling for work, so we haven't had time to record. So this will be a little late, but it'll be out shortly. I probably have it out by the weekend. And keep your eyes out for it. Drop a review or follow or tell friends and family and all the nerds in your life about it. Subscribe anywhere you'd like to. We're the Heresy Hangout everywhere that you can be. And thanks again. We'll see you next time.
Thank you, guys.